Chapter 45-44 Calculations. The two people who spoke were Yang Chun Baixu's second uncle Yang Ming Sihai, and her second aunt, Wei. In the eastern continent, only the direct descendants of the various clans were allowed to use the surnames Yang, Lu, Ma, Zhu and Tuesday. As for the side branches, they were allowed to use other surnames. Therefore, even though the Wei clan was also a Yang clan because they were side branches, their surname was Wei. Yang Chun Baixue sneered and said, "Thank you for second uncle and second aunt's good intentions, but I've already made up my mind. You'll definitely bump into this demon Skybell. The crown prince sent you here, right? I still have things to do, you guys can leave." Yang Chun Baixue sneered in her heart. No wonder Lu Zian would help her out. It turned out that he had such an idea. Yang Ming Sihai rolled his eyes. "Ni Shuer, don't misunderstand. Although we are working in the crown prince's residence, you are my biological niece. Naturally I am thinking of you. Since you have already made up your mind, then I won't advise you anymore." Yang Chun Baixu's expression softened when she heard that. There were no people she trusted around her, and she and Yang Ming Sihai were the only ones left in her direct line of descent. She could only hand over the funeral to him. She took out her jade token and opened the courtyard door. "Come in and talk." Yang Ming Sihai and Wei Shi looked at each other. Their eyes were full of joy and greed. The two followed Yang Chun Baixue into the general's residence. When they saw the exquisite decorations in the courtyard, the greed on their faces became even more obvious. As long as they could do what the crown prince had ordered them to do, with the death of Yang Chun Baixue, the crown prince would restore their freedom. Moreover, this general's residence would also be theirs. Yang Chun Baixue brought them to the living room. After taking a seat, Yang Chun Baixue said, "Second uncle, if I unfortunately die, I hope that you can bury my corpse together with my parents. All the money and items in my storage ring will be given to you. If the emperor does not take it back, this general's residence will also belong to you." Yang Ming Sihai's eyes flashed with joy. However, when he thought of what the crown prince had said, he sighed and said, "Shuer, Sai, you are too stubborn. Have you really decided?" Yang Chun Baixue nodded. "I would rather die than marry into the crown prince's residence. Second uncle, from now on, the sacrificial rights of the Yangs will be handed over to you." Yang Ming Sihai nodded and cursed in his heart. This should have been his matter to begin with, but when Yang Chun Baixu's father was about to die, he had forcefully passed on the position of the Yangsklan leader to this good-for-nothing niece. It was really infuriating. "Ni Shuer, this is second uncle's duty. Second uncle will naturally do his duty. However, did big brother and sister-in-law give you any other instructions when they died? Did they leave anything else for you?" Yang Ming Sihai asked probingly. Yang Chun Baixu's expression immediately darkened. She suddenly stood up. "I was wondering why you guys were so kind all of a sudden. So it turns out that you have such an idea? Go back and tell your master that father and mother didn't leave anything for me. Tell him not to waste his efforts. You guys can go. I don't welcome you here." Yang Ming Sihai still wanted to say something to ease the tension, but Yang Chun Baixue didn't give him a chance to speak. She directly took out a treasured sword and slashed at the two people like Jian Feng. Yang Ming Sihai and Wei Shi didn't dare to fight back. They were chased out of the gate in a sorry state. Wei Shi shouted sharply, "The things your parents gave you are also from the Yang family. You're going to die. Why can't you hand them over to your second uncle? You jinx. You killed your parents and your sheep clan. You deserve to die. You little bitch." Chapter 45-45 Hei Xinjia's self-reflection. Yang Chun Baixue slammed the door shut and slumped to the ground, biting her lips. Did she really kill her parents? Did she cause the downfall of the Yang clan? Did she really deserve to die? Hei Xinjio had a clear view of what had just happened. However, she had used up too much of her demonic energy to deal with Tu Meyer, so she did not come out to make a scene. Now that she saw that Yang Chun Baixue looked like she could not afford to live, she had no choice but to float out. "Little meme, are you stupid? That shrew made up a few nonsense words and you're already in such a state?" Hei Xinjio rolled her eyes and said. Yang Chun Baixue was about to speak when she heard Hei Xinjio continue, "Didn't you buy a lot of delicious food just now? Let's go. We'll go to the study room and eat snacks while reading a storybook. It's so wonderful." Yang Chun Baixue. If only she was as heartless as this good-for-nothing puppet. Forget it. She was going to die anyway. What was the point of thinking so much? So be it. She didn't have many days left to live anyway. Yang Chun Baixue stood up immediately and brought Hei Xinjio to the study room. However, when she opened the storybook she bought, her face turned red with embarrassment. She refused to help Hei Xinjio open the book no matter what. When Hei Xinjio saw that Yang Chun Baixue refused to help her flip through the books no matter what, She was so angry that she snorted, "Little Meme, your skin is too thin. There's nothing written here. Isn't it just holding hands and kissing on the lips?" Yangchen Baishue was so embarrassed that she wished she could stuff He Xinjia's mouth shut. How did she summon such a pervert? However, she could not resist He Xinjia's scoundrel, so she could only help He Xinjio flip through the book with her eyes closed. He Xinjio read it with great interest. It had to be said that the story books of the demon race were vividly written. They were simply of the highest quality. They were much more advanced than the human race, the ghost race, and the nightmare race. Could it be that the demon race had the talent to write such a special storybook? It was not that this fellow had fallen, but there was nothing else she could do. The time was too short. Even if she cultivated day and night, it was impossible for her to cultivate a physical body. Moreover, even if she could cultivate a physical body, it would be useless. As for escaping, there was no need to think about it. Crown Prince Lu Zian had already set up hidden sentries outside the general's residence. There was no way he could escape. Moreover, even if he could escape with Yangchen Baixu's weak demonic strength, they would not end well. They could only take it one step at a time. Besides, He Xinjio felt that since the black bead had brought her here, it would not leave her to die. It might teleport her back to the ghost realm at the critical moment. Seeing that the next day was the day of the demon sky bell, Yangchen Baishue cleaned up the ancestral hall. Kneeling on the futon, she said with tears in her eyes, "Ancestors of the Yang clan, father, mother, please bless Schwerer to ring the demon sky bell tomorrow." He Xinjio rolled her eyes. She was just about to mock him when she remembered that she had placed her hopes on the black bead as well. She did not seem to have the right to mock little Me. The fellow immediately came to a realization. She had felt that there was not much time left and there was no need to cultivate or not cultivate. It was a huge mistake. She should not give up until the very last moment. She was simply going back to her old self. Thus, she crossed her legs and floated in the air, starting to cultivate according to the puppet cultivation method she had seen earlier. Yangchen Baishue cried for a while. When she got up, she actually saw her good-for-nothing puppet, which was either eating or reading a script, actually cultivating. She felt as if she had seen a ghost. Chapter 45-46. Was she the kind of person who would pluck the feathers of a goose? Yangchen Baishue thought that Yun Chujio was putting on an act, but when she saw that Yun Chujio was really serious in her cultivation, she was instantly dumbfounded. Was this the last ray of light? Yangchen Baishue saw that He Xinjio was serious in her cultivation, so she did not disturb her. She went out of the ancestral hall to prepare lunch. Yangchen Baishue killed another chicken. When the food was ready, she did not see Yun Chujio coming over, which made her feel even more abnormal. If she had smelled the aroma of the food, her good-for-nothing puppet would have floated over long ago. However, there was no movement today. What the hell? When Yangchen Baishue arrived at the ancestral hall, she saw Yun Chujio still cultivating seriously. She sighed and said, "Stop practicing. It's time to eat." He Xinjio opened her eyes and flew toward the kitchen without paying attention to Yangchen Baishue. Yangchen Baishue was stunned. How did this good-for-nothing puppet become so fast? When she arrived at the kitchen, He Xinjio was already waiting to feed her. Yangchen Baishue had no choice but to feed the puppet ancestor. She could not help but ask curiously, "Why did you cultivate on a whim? Tomorrow is the day of the demon-slaying heavenly bell. It's useless no matter how fast you cultivate." Yun Chujio said in a rare serious tone, "I won't give up until the last moment. I won't regret it if I try my best." The spoon in Yangchen Baixu's hand fell on the table. She wouldn't be surprised if someone else said it, but why did it sound so different from the mouth of this good-for-nothing puppet? Yangchen Baishue came back to her senses and smiled bitterly. "What you said makes sense. It's just that we don't have enough time. It's up to you. If you were dead, wouldn't they have found it by searching your storage ring or the general's residence? Or are you hiding in some secret place?" Yangchen Baishue hesitated for a moment and did not say a word. Yun Chujio curled her lips. This crybaby did not trust her. Tiske, who cared about her treasure. Was she the kind of person who would steal someone's love? Was she the kind of person who would pluck feathers from a wild goose? In order to avoid awkwardness, Yangchen Baishue picked up a piece of chicken drumstick and fed it to He Xinjio. He Xinjio tactfully did not ask further. Little Me must have hidden the treasure in a safe place. Even if she died, the crown prince and the others would not be able to find it. The two of them had just finished their lunch when the crown prince, Lu Zian, came again. It was nothing more than pretending to be affectionate to persuade Yangchen Baishue not to bump into the demon sky bell. After being rejected, he left in a huff. As the first ray of morning light shone into the room the next day, Yangchen Baishue got up and began to put on her clothes. In fact, she didn't sleep at all for the whole night. However, in her sea of consciousness, Hei Xinjiu was probably tired from cultivating and slept very soundly. She hadn't even woken up until now. Yang Chun Baixue sighed and didn't call her. The main reason was that she couldn't call her either. Although this good-for-nothing puppet was her puppet, there was no way for them to communicate through spiritual sense. She also had no way to control her. Yang Chun Baixue finished putting on her clothes and went to the ancestral hall to kowtow 3 times respectfully before leaving the general's residence. The Demon Sky Bell was located in the southeast corner of the imperial city. Although it was blocked by a barrier, there were no shops or mansions around it. Chapter 45-47 Enchantment opened. Although the sky had just brightened, a major event like the Demon Sky Bell might not happen once in 1,000 years, so many demons gathered near the Demon Sky Bell. However, even with the enchantment blocking them, they didn't dare to get too close. They just watched from afar. Yang Chun Baixue looked at the Demon Sky Bell in the distant enchantment. She couldn't help but feel nervous and afraid, but now she had no other choice. She could only hope that the ancestors of the monster ancestor and the Yang race would bless her to ring the demon heaven bell and save her life. As the time was not up yet and Emperor Kong Xiao and the others had not arrived yet, she could only wait for the time being. Tu Meyer had arrived long ago. She walked to Yang Chun Baixue and said with malicious intent, "Yang Chun Baixue, it's not too late for you to regret now. Why must you go and die? When you marry into the Crown Prince's mansion, he'll take good care of you. He'll treat you like my own sister." Yang Chun Baixue said coldly, "Tu Meyer, although my demonic power is not as high as yours, I'm not a fool. Aren't you saying these words to provoke me and make me more determined to hit the Demon Sky Bell? Don't worry. Since I've said it, it'll definitely hit the Demon Sky Bell." Tu Meyer's thoughts were exposed by Yang Chun Baixue, and she couldn't help but become angry from embarrassment. She said angrily, "Since you don't know what's good for you, then go and die. You really don't know what's good for you." Yang Chun Baixue didn't even look at her. She realized that ever since she summoned that good-for-nothing puppet, she had been living much more comfortably than before. In the past, she wouldn't have dared to diss Tu Meyer like this. She only knew how to retreat, but what was the result of blindly retreating? Wouldn't she still be bullied by others? In that case, she might as well live on. If she could summon that good-for-nothing puppet earlier, perhaps she wouldn't have been forced into a dead end, right? Yang Chun Baixue looked at Hei Xinjiu, who was still sleeping soundly in her sea of consciousness, and revealed a smile. Although this good-for-nothing puppet was lustful, gluttonous, and scoundrel, it was the person who treated her the best other than her parents. She could not help but regret not telling her parents what she left behind yesterday. If she was lucky enough to survive this time, she would definitely tell them the truth, but she did not know if she would still have the chance to do so. After a while, Emperor Kong Xiao personally arrived with the civil and military officials. Such an important matter like the Demon Sky Bell, Emperor Kong Xiao naturally attached great importance to it. Even if it was for outsiders to see, he could not neglect it. Emperor Kong Xiao first pretended to persuade Yang Chun Baixue, and when he saw that she had made up her mind, he began the ceremony. Ceremony? That's right, as the Demon Sky Bell was a treasure left behind by the monster race. Every time the enchantment was opened, a grand ceremony was held. After the tedious ceremony, Emperor Kong Xiao ordered his men to open a gap in the enchantment and let Yang Chun Baixue walk in. Almost as soon as the gap was opened, everyone could feel the pressure pouring out. Everyone felt their hearts suffocated and their foreheads were sweating. Some of them even began to tremble. This was because they were quite far away from the enchantment. One could imagine how much pressure they would feel if they walked into it. Snatching a man from her? She was simply overestimating herself. Yang Chun Baixue took a deep breath and tried her best to straighten her back as she walked towards the enchantment. As the distance between them got closer, Yang Chun Baixue's every step became extremely heavy. Her footsteps also became unsteady. She could not help but smile bitterly. Could it be that she could not even get close to the Demon Sky Bell? Chapter 45-48 Hei Xinjiu came out as they got closer and closer to the Demon Sky Bell. Yang Chun Baixue's clothes were soaked in sweat, and her lips were bleeding from her bites. Every step was extremely difficult. Everyone suddenly exclaimed because Yang Chun Baixue could not withstand the immense pressure and collapsed on the ground. Even so, she still knelt and crawled towards the Demon Sky Bell. The crowd could not help but be moved. They originally thought that this Yang Chun Baixue was weak and incompetent, but they did not expect her to be so tenacious. Only then did the crowd remember that the sheep race had once been incomparably glorious. Tu Meyer revealed a smug expression. This bitch would not be able to hold on for much longer. She was dead for sure. At this moment Yang Chen Baixue only had one thought, and that was that she was unwilling to give up. Even if she could not hit the demon sky bell, she would still give it a try. She could not give up just like that. As they got closer, the pressure became stronger and stronger. Yang Chen Baixue spat out a mouthful of blood and could not even crawl anymore. Everyone shook their heads. Although they were moved by Yang Chen Baixu's tenacity, the result was obvious now. Not to mention ringing the demon sky bell, she probably couldn't even get close to the demon sky bell. Crown Prince Lu Zian sneered in his heart. Bitch, she would rather die in the demon sky bell's enchantment than marry him. She deserved to die. Unfortunately, once she died, there was no way to find out what General Yang and his wife had left for her. Yang Chen Baixue closed her eyes. Father, Mother, Shuer has done her best. Shuer will be able to see you all soon. At this moment, everyone exclaimed again, look. Yang Chen Baixue has released her human puppet. What does she want to do? She probably wants to struggle for a while before her death. Although her puppet has already formed her right hand, what use is that? That's right. The demonic power of the puppet will not exceed that of the host. Even Yang Chen Baixue has vomited blood. Her puppet will probably be forced to dissipate completely by the pressure soon. Yang Chen Baixue looked at her useless puppet in surprise. Did she wake up? He Xingjiu curled her lips when she saw Yang Chen Baixu's miserable state. This little meme had actually acted alone without waiting for her to wake up. She did not even think about it. Without her ghost ancestor, would she be able to do it alone? He Xingjiu shifted her gaze to the demon sky bell not far away. It was a large bell with ancient patterns. Although its name was rather domineering, but to be honest, what was so special about the so-called demon sky bell when He Xingjiu came out? Pressure? This thing did not exist in He Xingjiu's place. What kind of thing's pressure could be stronger than heavenly thunder? She was not even afraid of heavenly thunder, so why would she be afraid of the mere pressure of the demon sky bell? She floated in front of Yang Chen Baixue and blocked a part of the pressure for her. She mouthed, step back, I'll ring the demon sky bell for you. Yang Chen Baixu's almond-shaped eyes were wide open. She originally thought that her useless puppet would be forced to dissipate by the pressure of the demon sky bell as soon as it came out, but she was actually fine? A glimmer of hope suddenly rose in Yang Chen Baixu's heart. Perhaps she really could do it? She knew that if she continued to stay here, she would definitely die because she could not withstand the pressure. Therefore, she only hesitated for a moment before she followed Yun Chujia's words and retreated bit by bit. Chapter 45-49 was fun to play with. When the crowd saw that Yang Chen Baixue actually retreated, they could not help but explode. Tu Meyer shouted sharply, close the enchantment. We can't let her out. If she comes out, the monster ancestor will blame us. Although Emperor Kang Xiao was dissatisfied with Tu Meyer's shouting, he still ordered the guards to close the enchantment. Since that Yang Chen Baixue had already agreed to hit the demon sky bell, there was no chance for her to go back on her words. When Yang Chen Baixue saw that the enchantment was closed, she could not help but sneer. She did not want to go out, she just wanted to stay away from the demon sky bell. He Xingjiu had been escorting Yang Chen Baixue to the edge of the enchantment. Although the pressure here was still very strong for Yang Chen Baixue, she could still keep her life for a while. After He Xingjiu settled Yang Chen Baixue down, she floated towards the demon sky bell. When the onlookers saw that He Xingjiu did not disappear and was still floating towards the demon sky bell, they were shocked. Could it be that the human puppet wanted to replace Yang Chen Baixue to ring the demon sky bell? What a joke. Even her host failed, how could she, the most useless human puppet, succeed? Besides, she had only been summoned for a few days. No matter how heaven-defying her demonic energy was, it wouldn't be that high. How could she possibly crash into the demon sky bell? Putting everything else aside, she probably couldn't even move the bell hammer that crashed into the demon sky bell. Although the bell hammer was hung on the rack by a chain, it wasn't that easy to move it. However, the human puppet should have been forced to dissipate by the pressure a long time ago. Why did it not seem to be affected? Under everyone's different gazes, He Xingjiu floated to the front of the demon sky bell. She did not push the hammer but gathered her demonic power in her right hand and smacked it toward the demon sky bell. When Yang Chen Baixue saw it, she shouted anxiously, stop. However, it was too late. He Xingjiu's right hand had already struck the demon sky bell. Yang Chen Baixu's head buzzed. It was all her fault. She should have told her good-for-nothing puppet in advance that she could only hit the demon sky bell with the bell hammer. This was because the surface of the demon sky bell had a strong murderous aura. Once touched, it would be turned into ashes. The onlookers also cried out in surprise. This puppet didn't even have such common sense. It was definitely dead. However, everyone heard a desolate bell chime. It seemed to come from the distant past. Even though it was blocked by a barrier, it still made everyone's souls tremble. That puppet actually used its hand to ring the demon sky bell? How was this possible? Hei Xingqiu was also stunned. She just felt that the bell hammer was a little redundant. This thing seemed to only be able to ring with its hand, so she stretched out her right hand to try it. Hei Xingqiu thought that it was quite fun, so she stretched out her paw and tapped again. The demon sky bell once again let out a desolate sound. Emperor Kang Xiao and the others could not help but feel their legs go weak, because the sound of the bell made them want to kneel down and worship. Hei Xingqiu did not know about the situation of the others. She just thought that the demon sky bell was really interesting. It could even be tapped with one's hand, so this guy tapped a few times in a row. It was not until she heard Yangchen Baixu's intermittent and hoarse cries for help that she stopped. Yangchen Baixue was about to cry. Although it was a good thing that her own useless puppet rang the demon sky bell, but don't keep knocking it. Didn't you see that she kept vomiting blood? In the end, she might not be forced to death by the pressure, but instead she would be played to death by her own puppet. Chapter 4550, Demon Sky Bell ran away. Hei Xingqiu then realized that Yangchen Baixu's face was as pale as a piece of paper. Her clothes were covered in blood, and even the stone slab in front of her was covered in blood. Outside there was a mass of people kneeling on the ground. Some of them had weak demonic powers and even fainted. Hei Xingqiu? This should probably 80% have nothing to do with her, right? Didn't she just ring the bell a few times? Right at this moment, the demon sky bell suddenly rose up from the ground and broke through the barrier, flying far away. Everyone was stunned by the sudden turn of events. Why did the demon sky bell run away? This was the national treasure of their eastern continent. If it was lost, wouldn't it be a disaster? If it ran to the western continent? The consequences would be unimaginable. Emperor Kang Xiao was stunned for a moment and immediately ordered his men to chase after the demon sky bell. Even if they could not catch it back, they still had to know where it went. Yun Chujiu blinked her eyes. She could not be bothered with where the broken bell went. She floated in front of Yangchen Baixue and said, "Little meme, are you stupid? Can't you take some hemostatic medicine?" Yangchen Baixue took out a hemostatic pill from her storage ring and swallowed it. She was already in a daze just now. How could she have thought of taking the hemostatic medicine? At this moment, Tu Meyer said sharply, "Your Majesty, it's all Yangchen Baixu's puppet's fault. If she didn't pat the demon sky clock rashly, why would the demon sky clock break through the barrier and run away? You should have killed Yangchen Baixue now. If so, the demon sky clock might have flown back by itself." Everyone's eyes fell on Yangchen Baixue and Hei Xingqiu. Yes, the demon sky clock had been fine all this time, but now it suddenly ran away. It must have been because of the human puppet's reckless pat. Yangchen Baixue was stunned for a moment before she sneered and said, "Which rule in our eastern continent forbids us from patting the demon sky bell with our hands? Moreover, the demon sky bell is a treasure left behind by the demon ancestor. How could my puppet be able to pat it away with just a few pats?" Of course, these words were not what Yangchen Baixue had thought of, but what Hei Xingqiu had taught her. Since Hei Xingqiu's back was facing everyone, no one else could see it. Tu Meyer said in exasperation, "Yangchen Baixue, you don't have to quibble. You're a jinx. You killed your parents and now the Yao Tianzhong is gone. You should die." Upon hearing that, Yangchen Baixu's pale face turned even paler. Hei Xingqiu's eyes darkened as she said a few words to Yangchen Baixue. Yangchen Baixu's face stiffened, but she still followed Yun Chujiu's instructions and said, "Tu Meyer, you said that I am a jinx, but I can even defeat the demonic sky bell? Then, if I want to harm anyone in the future, why don't I just go to the other party's house and take a look? If that's the case, why don't you ask His Majesty to send me to the Western Land? I might even kill all the people in the Western Land." Tu Meyer choked on her words. You're twisting the facts. No matter what, the demon sky bell's escape was caused by your puppet. You can't escape the blame. Emperor Kang Xiao's head hurt from Tu Meyer's sharp voice, but he also felt that she was right. The demon sky bell's escape was related to Yangchen Baixu's puppet. If the demon sky bell could not be found, someone would have to take the blame. Thinking of this, Emperor Kang Xiao waved his hand, "Take down Yangchen Baixue." Chapter 4551, Sunset Peak. The Imperial Guard swarmed forward. Yangchen Baixue had already suffered heavy internal injuries. She was no match for them. Besides, she did not dare to resist. Yangchen Baixue saw Yun Chujiu's mouth and quickly said, "Your Majesty, please wait. I am willing to invite the demon sky bell back. If I can't do it, you can punish me later." Emperor Kang Xiao frowned and pondered for a moment. Since you say so, he'll give you a chance to make up for it. Yes, your son Lu Zian quickly answered. Lu Zian immediately led a group of guards to escort Yangchen Baixue and chased after the demon Sky Bell. Tu Meyer thought for a moment before she followed behind with her own guards. He Xingjiu jumped between Yangchen Baixu's brows as she pondered over her next step. Things had been going smoothly initially, but she did not expect that damn demon sky clock to run away. How hateful. Since that broken clock had already run away, it would not be easy to catch it back. Why not escape with little Meme? However, little Meme was too weak. Even if it ran away, it would still be caught back. Just as He Xingjiu was at her wit's end, Lu Zian asked with concern, Shuer, are you alright? Do you know how worried I was just now? It's great that you're still alive. You don't have to worry. I will plead on behalf of my imperial father. As long as you hand over the things that General Yang left for you, my imperial father will not blame you. Yangchen Baixue said coldly, thank you, your highness. It's just that my parents did not leave anything for me. Your highness, you don't have to worry about it. Lu Zian was furious. At this time, this bitch was still stubborn. However, it did not matter. If he could not invite Yao Tianzhong back, he would punish this bitch. He did not believe that she would be able to endure it. Tu Meyer gritted her teeth in hatred, but she didn't say anything. She could finally see that the crown prince wasn't still in love with this bitch, but wanted what General Yang left behind. At this moment, a guard came to report, Your Highness, the demon sky clock stopped at the peak of Sunset Peak. Lu Zian looked in the direction the guard pointed. Indeed, he could vaguely see something on the peak of Sunset Peak. It seemed to be the demon sky clock. Lu Zian immediately sped up and brought Yangchen Baixue and his men to the foot of Sunset Peak. Seeing Lu Zian coming over, the leader of the previous group of guards who were chasing after the demon Sky Bell quickly came over to report. Your Highness, I brought my men here and found that the demon Sky Bell has stopped at the peak of Sunset Peak. Sunset Peak is very steep and the demon Sky Bell has a terrifying pressure. I haven't thought of a countermeasure yet. Lu Zian frowned. Before she could speak, Tu Meyer suggested, Your Highness, since this disaster was caused by Yangchen Baixue, why don't we order her to climb up and invite the demon Sky Bell down? Lu Zian was a little hesitant. The setting sun peak was very steep. What if Yangchen Baixue fell to her death? Unexpectedly, Yangchen Baixue said, Your Highness, I'm willing to give it a try. Lu Zian was in a dilemma. Seeing this, Tu Meyer quickly said, Your Highness, the demon Sky Bell is extremely important to our East continent. Let her try. Otherwise, if the demon Sky Bell runs away again, we will have nowhere to go. Lu Zian gritted his teeth. Alright, Shuer, go and try. Remember, don't force yourself. Yangchen Baixue ignored Lu Zian and turned around to climb the Sunset Peak. Chapter 45-52. Escape together. The reason why Yangchen Baixue asked for the order was because He Xingjiu had instructed her to do it. She had already unconsciously regarded He Xingjiu as her backbone, so she did as she was told. To be honest, Yangchen Baixue was really uncertain. Firstly, the Sunset Peak was extremely steep. She didn't know if she could climb to the peak safely. Secondly, it was obvious that the demon Sky Bell had gained sentience. Would it run away after she had gone through so much trouble to climb up? Thirdly, the demon Sky Bell's pressure was so strong. If she took the initiative to approach it, wouldn't she be courting death? Halfway up, Yangchen Baixue could not take it anymore. She had already suffered internal injuries and the demon Sky Bell was exuding pressure. She had already gritted her teeth to hold on until now. He Xingjiu floated out from between her brows. Little Meme, come. You shout when I say something. Although Yangchen Baixue did not know what He Xingjiu was up to, she still nodded her head. Hence, she shouted in confusion, Little Zhong Zhong Zhong, let's talk about a deal. Yangchen Baixu's heart was filled with rage. Let's not talk about what little Zhong 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 was, talk about business? You're talking about business with Yao Tianzhong? Can you still have some face? What right do you have to talk about business with Yao Tianzhong? Lu Zian and the others were also dumbfounded. This Yangchen Baixue was crazy, right? When Yao Tianzhong heard the name Little Zhong Zhong, its tiger body trembled and it was about to fly away. However, it heard Yangchen Baixue continue, Little Zhong Zhong Zhong, no matter where you run, you can't escape the fate of being hunted. Why don't we work together? You take me with you and I guarantee that you can escape to heaven. The demonic Sky Bell emitted an even stronger pressure. It was obvious that Yangchen Baixu's words had infuriated it. Yangchen Baixue secretly complained in her heart. This good-for-nothing puppet of hers was probably not smart enough. How could the demonic Sky Bell bring them with him? However, when she saw Yun Chujia's gaping mouth again, She quickly followed and said, "Little Zhong Zhong Zhong, you took the risk to break out of the barrier. Logically speaking, you should have escaped far away. However, you stopped here. This means that your demonic power has not fully recovered yet. Besides wanting to regain your freedom, you must have another purpose to break out of the barrier, right? How can you accomplish your purpose if you can't transform into a bell? Therefore, our cooperation is the best way. Take me with you and escape. It'll help you fulfill your wish." It was unknown which part of Yang Chun Baixu's words struck the demon sky clock's heart. All in all, a tremendous suction force assaulted Yang Chun Baixue, and she flew toward the demon sky clock. Hei Xingjiu could not help but fly over as well. She gave herself a thumbs up in her heart. A smart person like her never used force to solve problems. Brains were the best. Lu Ziyan and the others were dumbfounded. How did Yang Chun Baixue say a few words and Yao Tianzhong abduct them? Lu Ziyan glared at Tu Meyer in anger. It was all her fault. If it wasn't for her bad idea, how could Yang Chun Baixue convince Yao Tianzhong to take them away? Tu Meyer was so depressed that she wanted to vomit blood. Her original intention was to let Yang Chun Baixue die from the pressure of Yao Tianzhong or fall to her death. Who knew that Yang Chun Baixue, who was usually slow-witted, would suddenly be able to speak? What the hell? What are you still standing there for? Go after her. Lu Ziyan said in exasperation. Inside the demon sky bell, Hei Xingjiu was lying leisurely and said to Yang Chun Baixue, "Little Meme, tell that idiot demon sky bell to escape from the bottom of the water. If he keeps flying in the sky, he won't be able to escape for the rest of his life." Chapter 4553, The Shrunken Demon Sky Clock. Yang Chun Baixue relayed Hei Xingjiu's words to the demon sky clock. Of course, her words were more tactful. After all, they were now living under someone else's roof. Hei Xingjiu did not have the self-awareness of living under someone else's roof. After lying down for a while, she asked Yang Chun Baixue to feed her. Yang Chun Baixue wanted to say that she had already formed her right hand, so why didn't she eat it herself? However, when she thought of the behavior of her puppet, she still obediently fed her lunch. Yang Chun Baixue wanted to discuss the following arrangements with Yin Chujiu, but she realized that she had never given this good-for-nothing puppet a name, so she said, "Let me give you a name. My surname is Yang and you are so fond of beauty. Why don't you call yourself Yang Hua?" Hei Xingjiu. Yang Hua. Fickle Yang Hua. Damn it, if anyone said that her naming skills were not good, she would kick them to death. No matter how ugly her name was, it was better than the Yang Hua that little Meme had named. Hei Xingjiu naturally would not call herself Yang Hua. She said with a gloomy face, "Don't randomly name me. I'm called Little Jiu." Hei Xingjiu said unhappily, "Let's take it one step at a time. After all, weren't you planning to die?" Yang Chun Baixue almost vomited blood. She vaguely knew that her name had angered the good-for-nothing puppet. But why was she so angry? Yang Chun Baixue did not dare to say anything more and began to meditate and cultivate. Hei Xingjiu blinked her eyes. No matter what, they were already far away from the imperial city with the demon sky clock. She had to find a place to settle down before she made any further plans. This guy would get sleepy after a full meal and fall asleep in a daze. When she fell asleep, she heard Yang Chun Baixu's exclamation. She quickly opened her eyes. This guy was surprised to find that they were on a grassland. "Little Joe, this is the Western continent. What should we do? If the demons in the Western continent discover us, we will be dead," Yang Chun Baixue said with a sobbing voice. Yun Chujiu frowned. "The Western continent? Didn't I just take a nap? Why did I come to the Western continent?" Hei Xingjiu asked in puzzlement. Yang Chun Baixue said somewhat speechlessly, "You slept for more than 20 hours. It's already noon the next day. Do you see the grass with yellow flowers in the distance? This kind of yellow cattail leaf grass can only be found in the Western continent. I remember that the source of the Futsu River in the Western continent is a grassland. I believe that the demon sky clock must have fled all the way here along the Futsu River." Hei Xingjiu was furious. "Damn it, where's that idiot demon sky bell? Can't he grow a brain?" Hei Xingjiu cursed while looking for the demon sky bell. However, she found no trace of the demon sky bell except for her and Yang Chun Baixue. "Little Mea, where's the demon sky bell?" Yang Chun Baixue pointed at Hei Xingjiu's right wrist. Hei Xingjiu looked down and saw a red string on her right wrist. On it hung the demon sky bell that had shrunk countless times. Hei Xingjiu was stunned for a moment. "Little Meme, you hung it on my wrist?" Yang Chun Baixue shook her head. "When I came out, I saw it on your wrist." Yang Chun Baixue was also dumbfounded. "All right? Anyone who saw a treasure like the demon sky bell on their puppet's wrist would be dumbfounded, all right? Hei Xinjiu was about to ask again when she saw a lion running over from afar. Following closely behind were several men riding horses. Yangchun Baixue said with a trembling voice, "Yes, it's the demons of the Western continent. We're dead." Chapter 45-54, Lang Mofeng. Yangchun Baixue was so regretful that her intestines turned green. If she had known that she would come to the Western land in a daze, she would have rather been locked up by Emperor Kang Xiao. At least she would still have a chance to live, but now there was really no way to live at all. Hei Xinjiu did not expect things to develop to this point, but since it had already happened, she could only act according to the circumstances. If not, didn't she still have the demon sky bell? Even though it had shrunk so much, it should still be of some use, right? Hei Xinjiu said to Yangchun Baixue, "Calm down. At most it's just death. What are you afraid of? You'll go in and rest for a while. You deal with it yourself." Yangchun Baixue was on the verge of tears. Although that was the case, who would want to die if they could live? Furthermore, the eastern and western continents had always been incompatible with fire and water. Those people would probably kill her if they saw her. At this moment, the lion had already been shot to death by one of them with a bow and arrow. Those people also noticed Yangchun Baixue and immediately surrounded her in the middle. Someone whistled, "I didn't expect that we would have an additional surprise today. Little beauty of the Yang clan, why did you come to our western continent? Do you think that the men of the eastern continent are too lousy?" Ah. The others also laughed out loud. The customs of the western continent were much more valiant than those of the eastern continent. Moreover, she was a female captive. Naturally, they would not be polite. Yangchun Baixu's face flushed red. She thought to herself that if she really couldn't do it, she could only commit suicide. "Little beauty, why aren't you saying anything? Since you're not saying anything, it means that you're a spy from the eastern continent. If you're a spy, you'll be beheaded." As the man spoke, he whipped the grass beside Yangchun Baixue. He was very pleased when he saw Yangchun Baixu's panicked expression. At this moment, a few people rushed over from afar. When they saw the man in the lead, the few people from before quickly dismounted and saluted, "Greetings, Your Highness, the second prince." The young man in the lead had a very handsome face, but he had 2 wolf ears. Yangchun Baixue could not help but be stunned when she saw the man. Was him? He was the second prince of the Western continent? The second prince nodded slightly and said to the people behind him, "Bring this woman from the Yang clan back to the prince's residence. I want to interrogate her personally." "Yes." Yangchun Baixue did not resist when she saw those people coming over because it was useless to resist. The person who had played with Yangchun Baixue with the whip earlier could not help but say embarrassedly when he saw the second prince take his people and leave, "How fucking unlucky. I thought I could have fun with that little beauty of the sheep race, but it was snatched away by the second prince. A rat race child really thinks he's so amazing." The others echoed, "That's right. Among these princes, the second prince, Lang Mofeng, is the most useless. His demonic power is the lowest and he eats, drinks and plays all day long. It's impossible for him to be the one to ascend the throne in the end." "That's right. His mother race is the rat race. To be honest, the rat race doesn't deserve to live in our western continent. They should return to the eastern continent. They're so weak. Although the children of different demon races are of the same race as their fathers, how can it be the same if the mother race is the wolf race or the rat race? I also heard that the second prince's puppet is actually a dog. Aha, I'm dying of laughter. I heard that it's even a khaki puppy. It's a disgrace to the royal family." Chapter 45-55 The wolf falls in love with the sheep? Yangchun Baixue was brought back to the imperial city by the second prince Lang Mofeng and went straight into the second prince's residence. After entering the second prince's residence, unexpectedly, the second prince did not interrogate Yangchun Baixue. Instead, he arranged for 2 maids to bring Yangchun Baixue down to wash up and rest. Hei Xinjiu saw that Yangchun Baixue had been silent the entire time and did not put up too much of a fight. She was puzzled. Could it be that little Ba knew the second prince? Was there an affair? A wolf tribe and a sheep tribe. Did the wolf fall in love with the sheep? Or did the sheep fall in love with the wolf? A melody began to play in Hei Xinjiu's mind repeatedly. The wolf fell in love with the sheep, madly in love. Who asked them to fall in love? After the 2 handmaidens left, Hei Xinjiu could not wait to jump out and asked with a gossipy face, "Little Meme, do you know that second prince? Do you have a story?" Yangchun Baixue looked at Hei Xinjiu, who was full of interest and was speechless. She said, "It's not really a story. It's just that when I was young, my parents stationed me at the border and I once saved a little wolf. I thought that it was just an ordinary wild beast. I did not expect that it was the wolf clan. Because they were heavily injured, they turned into beast forms. At that time I was too soft-hearted and didn't kill him. I let him go without telling my parents. That was all there was to it. Hei Shinjio let out an ohin disappointment. She had thought that it was an unprecedented love affair, but it turned out to be a life-saving grace. She rolled her eyes. Little Meme, you definitely don't have a place in the Eastern lands anymore. Why don't you let that second prince save your life? There's nothing I can do to repay him. You can just marry him. I think he's quite good-looking too, and he's clearly not an ungrateful scum. Why don't you just take him in? Then think of a way to let him ascend to the throne. You two can unify the Eastern and Western continents. It's simply wonderful. Yangchen Baishua was dumbstruck when she heard this. She felt that her own puppet had gone mad. Moreover, the second prince was a prince. It was even more impossible for him to marry a sheep race woman like her as a concubine. Moreover, she and he only had some interactions when they were young. How could they talk about marriage? Yangchen Baishua frowned when she thought of this. When she saved the second prince was already a teenager at that time. His appearance had not changed much since then, so Yangchen Baishua recognized him at a glance. But how did he recognize her? She was a little fat girl when she was young. Her appearance now was still quite different from that time. At this time, two maids lifted the curtain and walked in. Each of them held a tray with pastries, tea and other things on it. Although the two maids were a little surprised to see Hei Shinjio, they did not ask much. One of the maids said respectfully, "Miss, this is the pastries His Highness asked us to prepare. Enjoy." After saying that, the two handmaidens left respectfully. Seeing that the pastry on the table was very exquisite, Hei Shinjio did not have the time to show off and ask Yangchen Baishua to feed her. She condensed a piece of pastry with her right hand and ate it. Unexpectedly, Yangchen Bake's eyes turned red and she cried. "Hei Shinjio, was it necessary? Didn't she just eat a piece of pastry? Did it hurt her so much?" Hei Shinjio said embarrassedly, "Isn't there still so much? You are too narrow-minded. I risked my life for you, why can't I just eat a piece of cake?" Chapter 45-56. Strolling in the garden, Yangchen Baishua shook her head with reddened eyes. "It's not that I can't bear to let you eat it, but it's this pastry." At this point she was so choked up that she could not speak and started crying again. Hei Shinjio rolled her eyes. Ever since she met this crybaby, the number of times she rolled her eyes was almost equal to the total number of times she had rolled her eyes before. This little meme was crying happily, but it also cried when it was unhappy. It seemed that it could not live without crying a few times every day. Hei Shinjio did not care about her. She picked up another piece of cake and started to eat happily. It was the biggest meal in the world. It was not until Hei Shinjio finished the whole plate of cake that Yangchen Bake's emotions finally calmed down. "This kind of cake was invented by my mother herself. Other than my mother, no one else knows how to make it. When I saved the second prince, I once secretly gave it to him to eat. I did not expect." At this point, Yangchen Baishua choked up again, unable to say a word. Hei Shinjio looked at her speechlessly, but her eyes suddenly lit up. That second prince must have spent a lot of effort to make the same pastry. Could it be that he had already harbored wild ambitions for little Meme? Hei Shinjio could smell the thick scent of treachery and love. She felt that the plan she had mentioned earlier was very feasible. However, she still had to observe and see if that second prince was the right kind of person. However, the two maids, Ru Hua and Ji Hua, were respectful in every detail. Hei Shinjio felt that the second prince had good taste in choosing servants. "Miss Shui, you haven't left the courtyard. The weather outside is nice today. Why don't I accompany you to the garden for a walk?" Ji Hua suggested. Yangchen Baishua was not in the mood for sightseeing, but Hei Shinjio was. She was suffocating inside the house every day. Yangchen Baishua looked at Hei Xinjia's pitiful eyes and could only nod in agreement. Ru Hua stayed in the courtyard while Ji Hua accompanied Yangchen Baishua out of the courtyard. Although Lang Mafeng was not favored, he was a prince after all. The courtyard was beautifully decorated. After walking for a while, they arrived at the garden. All kinds of flowers and plants competed with each other. There were even many flowers that only existed in the eastern continent. Yangchen Bake's mood could not help but improve when she saw those familiar flowers. As for Hei Shinjio, she shamelessly chased after a butterfly and flew around the garden. The corner of Ji Hua's eyes twitched. This Miss Shui's puppet was comparable to His Highness' puppet. They were all so unique. Hei Shinjio made the butterfly dizzy and then yawned and hid between Yangchen Bake's brows. Yangchen Baishua was also a little tired and said, "Let's go back." Ji Hua agreed and walked back with her. She didn't expect to see a few people walking towards them as soon as they left the garden. Ji Hua cursed in her heart. Why was this person here? However, it was too late to hide. She could only brace herself and bow to the woman in the lead. Ji Hua greets Miss Qinlan. The woman said gently, no need to be so polite. I believe the person beside you is the Yang clan's young lady who saved the damsel in distress, right? Ji Hua had no choice but to nod in agreement. Then she said to Yangchen Baixue, Miss Xue, this is the second prince's cousin, Miss Qinlan. Yangchen Baixue nodded to Xu Qinlan, then turned around and was about to leave. There was no other reason. Yangchen Baixue was very uncomfortable. Her current status was awkward. She was a captive, so she was treated very well. She was also a guest, so she did not plan to chat with Xu Qinlan. Chapter 4557 came to an abrupt end. Xu Qinlan smiled and said, Sister Xue, it's fate that we met. I happen to want to go to the garden to admire the flowers. Sister Xue won't not give me this face, right? Yangchen Baixue wanted to refuse, but she found that the maid brought by Xu Qinlan blocked the road. She could only say it's better to be respectful than to accept. Miss Qinlan, please. Xu Qinlan could not help but reveal a trace of disdain when she saw that she was so easily submissive. She had thought that some vixen had charmed her cousin, but it turned out that she was a dull trash. Ji Hua was a little anxious. Although her cousin appeared gentle and virtuous on the surface, she was vicious on the inside. If she had known earlier, she would not have suggested visiting some garden. What should she do? Ji Hua wanted to go and ask for help, but the handmaidens Xu Qinlan brought kept pestering her and asking questions. Clearly they did not intend to let her leave. After entering the garden, Xu Qinlan pointed at a cluster of flowers and said with a smile, Sister Xue, you said that my cousin is also interesting. He insisted on planting those eastern land flowers and plants in this garden. Even if he can barely live, he will die sooner or later if he is not acclimated to the soil and water. Don't you think so? Although Yangchen Baixue was timid, after recent events she had become much more transparent. She understood that Xu Qinlan came with ill intentions, and her words were clearly meant for her to hear. She said faintly, these flowers and plants are just out of control. If you can choose, I believe that they would prefer to take root and sprout in the eastern continent. Xu Qinlan's voice carried a bit of coldness. Oh? Out of control? That means that you are at the mercy of others? Pluck those plants that are an eyesore for me. It just so happens that we can make room for the flowers and plants in the western continent. The people that Xu Qinlan brought swarmed forward, and the flowers and plants that were originally blooming turned into a mess in an instant. Ji Hua dared to be angry but did not dare to say anything. Her heart was so anxious that it was almost smoking. Xu Qinlan looked at Yangchen Baixue with a cold gaze. Sister Xue, did you see it? This is what happens when you covet something that shouldn't belong to you. Yangchen Baixue naturally understood the meaning behind Xu Qinlan's words. She wanted to explain that she did not have any feelings for the second prince, but it just so happened that she was now under the second prince's protection. For a moment, she did not know what to say. When one of Xu Qinlan's maids saw that Yangchen Baixue did not say anything, she walked in front of her arrogantly and said, Our miss is talking to you, why don't you answer? Are you deaf? Or are you people from the eastern continent so shameless that you want to covet other people's things? TSK, looking at your cheap appearance, you probably did something shameful in the eastern continent, so you ran to our western continent when you had no other choice, right? Your parents are probably not good people either. Otherwise, how could they have given birth to such a shameless bitch like you? Xu Qinlan's eyes flashed with a glimmer. This was the effect she wanted. She was the one who made the first move. Even if she took the opportunity to beat this bitch to death, her cousin wouldn't be able to do anything to her. The maids behind Xu Qinlan swarmed forward, wanting to take advantage of the chaos to beat Yangchen Baixue to death. Ji Hua wanted to go forward and stop her, but was stopped by two of Xu Qinlan's maids. Ji Hua was so regretful that her intestines were turning green. If anything really happened to Miss Xue, His Highness would definitely take her life. At this moment, He Xinjiu floated out from between Yangchen Baixu's brows and grabbed Xu Qinlan's neck. Then everything came to an abrupt end. Chapter 4558. The dog cub puppet He Xinjiu rolled her eyes at Yangchen Baixue. She only squinted for a short while. This poor girl was being bullied. She was really useless. Yangchen Baixue felt that her useless puppet was simply too awesome. One move could eat up the whole world. Although her puppet seemed to only know how to strangle people's necks, it was really useful. Especially when it was about capturing the head of a thief, it was extremely useful. At this time, Ji Hua also took the opportunity to get rid of the two handmaidens. She looked at He Xingjiu in surprise. She originally thought that Miss Schwer's human puppet was a piece of trash, but she did not expect it to be so powerful. Shu Qinlan was so angry that she was about to die. Her plan was flawless, but she did not expect it to be ruined by this slut's puppet. Seeing that her master was restrained, her maids naturally didn't dare to harm Yangchen Baixue. Seeing He Xingjiu winking at her, Yangchen Baixue immediately left with Ji Hua. After He Xingjiu choked Shu Qinlan unconscious, she swaggered after her. When Shu Qinlan woke up, she was almost driven mad. She wanted to break into Yangchen Baixu's courtyard, but found that there were many guards around the courtyard, so she couldn't enter. One of Shu Qinlan's maidservants came forward and said, "Miss, there's no need for you to personally deal with that slut. Although the second prince is in closed-door cultivation, his little puppy puppet is still in the courtyard. This maidservant is familiar with the maidservant who is responsible for feeding her. Why don't we encourage that little puppy puppet to come over? I'm sure these guards won't dare to stop us. It would be best if the puppy puppet directly bit that slut to death. Even if it can't, if that slut hurts the second prince's puppet, the second prince will feel disgusted with her." Shu Qinlan felt that her idea was not bad. Although the second prince, Lang Mafeng, was ridiculed for summoning a puppy puppet, the second prince doted on that puppy puppet very much. That puppy puppet could be said to run amok in this mansion. No one dared to stop it and no one dared to hurt it even a little. If that bitch hurt the puppy puppet, her cousin might even kill her in a fit of anger. Shu Qinlan immediately let the maidservant make the arrangements while she and her people waited nearby for a good show. A moment later, a khaki puppy was carried over by the maidservant. Unlike ordinary puppets, this earthy yellow puppy was a real body. Its two front paws were holding a piece of meat bone and nibbling on it very sweetly. The maidservant placed the puppy at the entrance of the courtyard, then she said, "Lord Puppet, the humanoid puppet that I mentioned is inside." Her master said that her humanoid puppet is 10,000 times stronger than you. He even said that he would tear you into pieces. The puppy threw away the half-eaten bone and immediately rushed into the courtyard angrily. When the guards saw that it was the puppy, they looked at each other and no one dared to stop it. They just watched as it rushed in. Shu Qinlan, who was watching from afar, revealed a cold smile. Soon there would be a good show to watch. Ji Hua said to Yangchen Baixue with a bitter face, "Miss Schwer, it's bad. The little tyrant in the residence is here." Yangchen Baixue was stunned. Little tyrant? It's His Highness' little puppy puppet. It has always been unbridled in the residence. I don't know why it came to our courtyard. Many servants were heavily punished by His Highness for offending it. Moreover, it's full of bad intentions and likes to play tricks on people. What should we do? Chapter 45-59. Arrogant little tyrant. Before Yangchen Baixue could react to what was happening, she heard an arrogant voice coming from outside the house. "Are you tired of living? How dare you lock me outside? Get out here." Yangchen Baixu's mouth was wide open in shock. That little puppy puppet can talk? Ji Hua sighed. Yes, although its demonic power is very weak, it can speak well. I don't know how it won His Highness' favor, but His Highness is very indulgent towards it. It was also because it could speak and often risked evil water to frame people. It was a true little tyrant. Why did it come all of a sudden? Could it be Miss Qinlan's doing? Although Yangchen Baixue was surprised, she quickly understood. After all, her strange puppet could also speak. It was just that little nine could not make a sound because it had not condensed a physical body yet. At this time, the puppy's impatient voice sounded again from outside. "Are the people inside deaf? Hurry up and get out. Otherwise, this lord will tear down your broken house." Ru Hua and Ji Hua looked at each other. In the end, Ji Hua said with an expression that looked like she was ready to die, "This servant will go out and take a look. Although that little tyrant is arrogant and despotic, it is not to the extent of taking a life. It has played enough, so it left." Yangchen Baixue wanted to stop her, but Ji Hua had already walked out. The khaki puppy saw Ji Hua and glared at her. "Why did you only come out? Did you come out to kneel and greet me? Quickly move aside, I want to see who has the guts to tear me into pieces." Ji Hua immediately understood that the puppy was being urged by someone else, so she quickly explained, "Lord Puppet, who did you hear this from? She must be lying to you. Who dares to scold you?" Little puppy rolled its eyes. "Regardless of whether someone scolds me or not, I want to see that human-shaped puppet. Let her play with me." Ji Hua was about to cry. She knew that this little overlord was determined to see Yangchen and Baixue. She could only grit her teeth and say, "Lord Puppet, His Highness said that no one is allowed to disturb Miss Xue. Please leave." The little puppy immediately became angry. You actually used little Feng Feng to threaten me? Get lost. Otherwise this lord will tear you into pieces. Jihua had no choice but to use her body to block the door, preventing the little puppy from barging in. The little puppy angrily shouted, "You're rebelling. You little handmaiden actually dare to stop this lord? They'll definitely let little Feng Feng beat your ass up." Jihua was both embarrassed and angry, but she did not dare to say anything. Jihua was stunned, thinking that Miss Schwer definitely did not know the little tyrant's bad temper. If she let it in, it would definitely torture the human-shaped puppet until it dissipated. The little puppy looked at Jihua proudly. "Did you hear that? Move aside. The beauty in the room is smart. I will not argue with you on account of the beauty. Otherwise, HMP." Jihua had no choice but to open the door and let the puppy into the room. Yangchun Baishue looked at the earthy yellow puppy in surprise. She really couldn't associate the little thing in front of her with the arrogant little tyrant. At this moment, the puppy covered its mouth with its front paw and laughed. "You little beauty is so funny. You even have a pair of horns on your head. If you kiss me on the mouth, your horns won't blind my eyes, right?" Yangchun Baishue. Chapter 4560. Lord doesn't remember the puppy. Yangchun Baishue was both embarrassed and angry. She suddenly felt that the little tyrant that Jihua and the others mentioned was flattering this puppy. This guy was simply a scoundrel. The puppy said to Jihua, "Carry me to the chair and let that humanoid puppet come out and dance for my pleasure. Otherwise, I will tear this little beauty with horns into pieces." Jihua did not dare to disobey. She carried the puppy to the chair and looked at Yangchun Baishue with a troubled expression. Yangchun Baishue looked at the puppy who was acting arrogantly on the chair and suddenly had an illusion. Why did she feel that this puppy's behavior was very similar to her good-for-nothing puppet? However, her good-for-nothing puppet just let her bring the puppy in, but she floated into her brows. What was the meaning of this? Quickly release your puppet. Is your puppet so ugly that it doesn't dare to meet people? Before Yangchun Baishue could think of an answer, she saw her good-for-nothing puppet float out from her forehead. Then, she saw the puppy that was originally acting arrogantly widened its eyes and fell from the chair onto the ground. The puppy knelt on the ground and used its front paw to slap its own head. "Little fairy, I was wrong. I didn't recognize you. I was talking nonsense. Please spare me. Little fairy, woo, I missed you too much, so I got a crazy disease. You adults don't care about the puppy. Don't lower yourself to my level. Little fairy, we are gentlemen. If you hit me, your hand will hurt too, want it?" Under the incredulous gazes of Yangchun Baishue and the other two girls, Hei Xinjiu slapped the puppy away with her right hand, leaving a big hole in the door. A moment later, the puppy rolled and crawled in again. As soon as it came in, it kneeled on the ground and cried, "Little fairy, I really miss the feeling of being beaten. Sob, sob, I'm so touched. Slap me again." Jihua. Ruhua. Was this the little tyrant they knew? This was a live pug. Hei Xinjiu looked at the crying butt-face coldly. This damned butt-face had cried for her help before. She thought it was being abused somewhere, but she didn't expect this guy to be so arrogant in the second prince's residence. Where was the slightest bit of pity? Hei Xinjiu said to Yangchun Baishue, "Take them and wait outside. I'll catch up with this dog too." Yangchun Baishue was dumbfounded. This little bully was called dog too? Catch up? Little Jiu knew this little bully? Although Yangchun Baishue was very curious, she still obediently took Jihua and Ruhua out. Ruhua and Jihua were both stunned. Why did this Miss Schwer listen to her puppet? Who was the host and who was the puppet? And why was the little overlord so afraid of that black-faced puppet? Yun Chujio only looked at Buttface when she saw the three of them leave. Buttface realized that Hei Xinjiu and Yangchun Baishue were communicating with their lips. He guessed that Yun Chujio could not make a sound yet, so he said obsequiously, "Little fairy, you don't have to worry. You'll be able to make a sound when you condense your physical body. I was just like you back then. I was wondering why magpies kept chirping today. It turns out that it's a good day for our master pets to meet. It's really a good day for congratulations and celebration." Chapter 4561, Flattery. Dog 2. Hei Xinjiu did not say anything. She floated in the air and stared at Dog 2 coldly. Dog 2 was trembling like a fallen leaf in the wind. He stammered, "Little fairy, why are you here? Are you here to save me?" "Woo, I knew that the best decision Dog 2, made was to follow Little fairy. Little fairy, you are my birth parents and my goddess." Seeing that Hei Xinjiu still had no reaction, Buttface continued crying, "Little fairy, I sent you a message to ask for help because I was really miserable at that time. At first, I couldn't condense a physical body nor speak. You didn't know how scared I was at that time. I thought that I would never be able to see you again, little fairy." Sob, sob, sob. Upon hearing this, He Xinjia's anger dissipated a little. Indeed, Buttface suddenly realized that he would definitely be very scared when an ancient fierce beast became someone else's puppet. When Buttface saw that Yun Chujia's expression had eased up, he continued sobbing. Moreover, my host was an unfavored prince. Those people often mocked little Feng Feng because of me. I was afraid that little Feng Feng would be ruthless enough to kill me with a secret technique and summon a new puppet. At that time, my life was really worse than death. Sobbed little fairy. At that time, I wept and trembled every day hoping that you would come and save me. I was really miserable. He Xinjio had always been a protective person. Seeing Buttface crying pitifully, her remaining anger dissipated. She mouthed, "Tell me what happened that day." Although Buttface could not read lips, he could roughly guess what happened because He Xinjio spoke slowly. He quickly said, "I didn't know. Little fairy, after that old witch succubus crushed that bead, I don't know anything anymore. When I woke up, I was summoned by Little Wind." Yun Chujio frowned. "Where's the big brick?" Dog 2 shook its head. "I don't know where the big brick went either. But since we are reunited, I believe we will find the big brick very soon." Although Yun Chujio was a little disappointed, it was a good thing to find Buttface. She asked Buttface to call Yangchun Baixue in. With Yangchun Baixue as the interpreter, He Xinjia's communication with Buttface was much smoother. Buttface rolled his eyes and said obsequiously, "Little fairy, Shu Qinlan must have instigated that little bitch who urged me to come here. I will go and bite that bitch to death to vent my anger on you." Yun Chujio shook her head. Although Buttface was acting all high and mighty in the second prince's residence, Shu Qinlan had a lot of maids by her side, so Buttface couldn't hurt her. Moreover, Yangchun Baixu's position was awkward now, so she could put Shu Qinlan aside. The most important thing now was to make the wolf fall in love with the sheep. Little Meme asked Buttface, "Is the second prince interested in you?" He Xinjio said while blinking her eyes. Yangchun Baixu's face was flushed red. How could she ask? He Xinjio had no choice but to use her right hand to dip it in the tea and write on the coffee table to communicate with Buttface. Yangchun Baixu's eyes twitched when she saw He Xinjia's dog-like handwriting. This handwriting was really ugly. Why did this handwriting look familiar? Where had she seen it before? "Little fairy, you must have guessed wrong this time. I saw little Feng Feng staring blankly at a portrait. Although the beauty on the portrait has a pair of goat horns, it's a chubby girl. It's not the little beauty in front of me at all." Chapter 4562 The little fairy was omnipotent. Yangchun Baixu's face immediately turned even redder. Even though she did not see it, she somehow knew that the little chubby girl in the portrait was her. Could it be that he had really kept her in his heart all along? Even though she did not have any feelings for Lang Mofeng, but knowing that a person would always be thinking of her silently, her heart still throbbed a little. When she thought about the pastries, she was a little absent-minded. He Xinjio saw the look on Yangchun Baixu's face and made a rough guess, and he could tell that little Meme was a little moved. But that was true. Ever since little Meme's parents had passed away, no one had ever cared about her, let alone that Lang Mofeng who was so talented and had such deep feelings for her. Buttface blinked his doggy eyes and saw some of it as well and continued to say, "I also heard little Feng talking to himself, saying that as long as she was happy, he should not disturb her life or anything like that. Little Horn, I don't want to say too much, but little Feng Feng is absolutely infatuated with you. If it weren't for the fact that he had to go into seclusion to break through, he would have confessed to you long ago. However, your sheep horn is a problem. I'm really worried about little Feng Feng. You must be careful when you kiss and kiss." Yangchun Baixue was embarrassed and angry, but she didn't dare to do anything to Buttface. Her eyes were red and she was about to cry. Buttface said embarrassedly, "I didn't say anything. Why are you crying? Your horns are already in the way." He Xinjio felt that what Buttface said made sense. How did the sheep and deer race kiss? Weren't their horns in the way? The shameless pair looked at each other and saw the intense gossiping light in each other's eyes. In order to ease the awkward atmosphere, He Xinjio said to Yangchun Baixue, "Little Meme, don't lower yourself to Buttface's level. Let's have a good talk." Seeing Yun Chujia's serious expression, Yangchun Baixue wiped her tears with a handkerchief and said, "What do you want to say? Little Meme, tell me the truth. If Lang Mofeng really has a deep affection for you, what do you think about marrying him?" Yangchun Baixu's face turned red once again. Why was this good-for-nothing puppet of hers so fixated on this question? She said hesitantly, I don't know." Yun Chujio rolled her eyes. "Alright, I know what you mean. In any case, you don't have any objections. Now here's the problem. This is not the worst part. The worst part is that the news of the demon sky clock will spread to the western continent sooner or later, and your identity will be completely exposed. At that time the second prince will not be able to protect you. Unless you hand over the demon sky clock, but now that the demon sky clock has become like this, who will believe it? Therefore once the matter is exposed you will die without a doubt and you will implicate the second prince. Yang Chun Baeksu's face immediately turned pale. Yes, she had forgotten about the demon sky bell. If it weren't for the demon sky bell she might still be able to survive. However, once the emperor of the western continent found out about the demon sky bell, even the second prince wouldn't be able to protect her. Although Buttface didn't understand all of Yun Chujia's lip language, he could roughly guess the situation when he saw Yang Chun Baeksu's expression. He said obsequiously, "Little Horn, you don't have to worry. As long as the little fairy is here, there's no problem that can't be solved. The little fairy is omnipotent." Chapter 4563. Hurry up and save the puppy. Hey Shinjio gave Buttface a look of praise. It had to be said that this dumbass did not have any other skills, but his tongue was getting sharper and sharper. Who did he learn it from? Yang Chun Baishua did not have the time to correct Buttface for calling her Little Horn. Anyway, Little Meme was not much better than this title. Little Gio, hurry up and tell us what we need to do to survive. Even if we can't survive, we shouldn't implicate him, Yang Chun Baishua said anxiously. Hey Shinjio, was he trying to turn the tables just like that? The most important thing right now is for you to meet the second prince first. I want to see if he is someone who can do great things before making any plans. However, he must have some tricks up his sleeve to be able to eat, drink, and have fun while being hunted by the poor little girl. Yun Chujio touched her chin and said. Dog 2 came over and said, Little fairy, you are really smart. Little Fong Fong has his own forces. I have seen people report things to him, such as the hidden spies in the palace or the spies in the crown prince's mansion. Later, when I was able to form a physical body and someone reported things to him, he kicked me out. Yun Chujia's eyes lit up. This second prince was indeed an ambitious person. He was both ambitious and nostalgic. He was really a good choice. Yun Chujio asked Yang Chun Baishua to call Ji Hua and Ru Hua into the house. The two saw the little tyrant squatting on the coffee table, peeling the skin obsequiously. After peeling one, he fed it to the black-faced puppet. What Buttface was peeling was the red heart exquisite fruit, which was unique to the western continent. Once the skin was peeled, bright red juice would come out. It was very delicious. Buttface threw the peeled fruit on the ground, making the ground full of red juice. Yang Chun Baishua asked unnaturally, when will the second prince come out of seclusion? If he comes out, can you arrange for us to meet him? Ji Hua quickly said, Miss Schwer, His Highness will probably come out of seclusion this afternoon. I will report to him then. Yang Chun Baishua nodded and felt a little awkward, so she said, you guys clean up and change the door at the same time. There would be servants in the prince's residence who would specifically collect those sundries and then throw them away outside the prince's residence. At this moment, Shu Qinlan was a little anxious. She was originally waiting to watch a good show, but after stretching her neck and waiting for a long time, she only heard a sound and there was no movement. She was very puzzled. The maid who gave the idea earlier pointed at the sundries bucket and said excitedly, Miss, I saw that the sundries that Ji Hua just poured were dyed red. Could it be that that slut killed or injured the dog puppet? Miss, I saw it too. That slut caused a big trouble. Another maid said gloatingly. Shu Qinlan was delighted. If that slut really killed the puppy puppet, her cousin would definitely not let that slut off. The more Shu Qinlan thought about it, the more excited she became. She wanted to rush into the courtyard and see what was going on. At this moment, a maid said in a low voice, Miss, the second prince is here. Shu Qinlan looked up and saw that the second prince was indeed walking towards her. She saw that the second prince's expression was a little gloomy and could not help but feel happy. The puppet and the host had a spiritual connection. Could it be that her cousin had already noticed that the puppet had been killed? She pretended to be anxious and went up to him. Cousin, you've come out of seclusion? That's great. Quickly go and save that poor puppy. Chapter 4564. Are you blind? What's wrong with it? The second prince stopped in his tracks, a hint of impatience flashing in his eyes. Shu Qinlan did not notice the impatience in the second prince's eyes, and she said worriedly, I don't know what happened earlier, but that little puppy angrily barged into Sister Schwer's courtyard. Just now Ji Hua's trash was stained red with blood. Sister Schwer must not know that the little puppy is your cousin? Before Shu Qinlan could finish her sentence, the second prince had already walked towards the courtyard where Yang Chun Baishua lived. Shu Qinlan's eyes lit up. Her cousin must be very worried about the puppy, which was why he was so anxious. That bitch was dead for sure. She quickly followed with her maid. When the guards saw her and the second prince, they thought that it was the second prince who let her in, so they did not stop her. When the second prince entered the courtyard, the first thing he saw was the big hole in the door. He was even more anxious. He could sense that nothing had happened to his little puppy puppet. Could it be that the blood that his cousin said was from Shuer? Jihua heard the footsteps outside. As soon as she opened the door, the second prince rushed in. Shu Qinlan was afraid that she would not be able to see the good show. She trotted into the house and said, "Cousin, is the little puppy okay?" "Poor little thing. It must be badly injured, right?" Shu Qinlan's words came to an abrupt end because she saw the insufferably arrogant little tyrant smashing walnuts. After smashing one of the walnuts, he fed it to the human puppet. Buttface was worried that he wouldn't have a chance to show off in front of He Xinjiu. Now that Shu Qinlan had delivered herself to his doorstep, he naturally wouldn't let go of this good opportunity. He threw the small hammer that smashed the walnuts at Shu Qinlan. Shu Qinlan didn't expect that Buttface would suddenly attack her. The small hammer hit her left foot and she cried out in pain. Buttface glared at her and said arrogantly, "You ugly woman, shut up. Which eye of yours saw that I was injured? Are you blind?" Shu Qinlan was in pain and anger, but she didn't dare to teach Buttface a lesson. So she looked at the second prince pitifully and found that the second prince's eyes were not on her, but on Yangchun Baishue. Yangchun Baishue lowered her head slightly. Her face was slightly red, and it was obvious that she was a little uncomfortable. Shu Qinlan was so angry that she gritted her teeth. She couldn't care less about her usual gentle and virtuous demeanor. She yelled sharply, "Cousin, my feet are killing me." The second prince then shifted his gaze to her. His tone was flat as he said, "Since your feet are injured, go back to your residence and rest. If there's nothing else, don't come over." Shu Qinlan could not believe her ears. What did her cousin mean? She was injured by his puppet and he still chased her away? Shu Qinlan immediately began to cry. "Cousin, how can you treat me like this? I'm your cousin." The second prince's tone was slightly cold. "Qinlan, back then when I was struggling in the palace, how did your family treat me? Have you forgotten? How did your father, my own uncle, answer me when I asked for help? He said that my mother-in-law was a married woman, so I had nothing to do with the Shu family. Later, when you saw that my situation had improved, you took the initiative to stick to me. It was already benevolent of me not to reject you out of consideration for the kinship. And what you did today made me feel that some people's hearts could not be warmed. You should leave. From now on, everything in the Shu family has nothing to do with me." Chapter 45-65. Lang Mofeng's plan. Shu Qinlan's face turned pale when she heard the second prince mention the incident from before. She defended herself, "Cousin, I didn't do anything today. You can't accuse me wrongly." The second prince sneered, "You know what you've done. Send the guests away. From now on, the Shu family is not allowed to enter the manor." Immediately, a guard came in and prepared to forcibly expel Shu Qinlan and the others from the residence. Shu Qinlan said exasperatedly, "There's no need for you to chase me away. I'll leave on my own. Cousin, in the end it's because of this slut that you treat me like this. She's a spy from the eastern continent. I'm going to report you." The second prince's expression suddenly turned cold. "Shu Qinlan, if you're not afraid of your Shu family being exterminated, you can try." Shu Qinlan was so scared that she almost sat on the ground. Usually, the second prince was gentle and refined, and there was also a trace of cynicism. However, at this moment he was like a bloodthirsty devil, as if he could kill her at any time. I was wrong, cousin. I was talking nonsense just now. I will leave now." After saying that, Shu Qinlan rolled and crawled away. The second prince's eyes narrowed slightly. He said to a guard who was standing with his hands hanging down, "Send someone to keep an eye on her and the Shu family. If there are any unusual movements, deal with the trouble directly." Jihua and Ruhua tactfully left the room. Only the second prince and Yangchun Baishue were left in the room. Well, there were two foodies. The second prince glanced at Buttface and gestured for him to leave. However, Buttface acted as if he did not see him. The second prince simply ignored him and said to Yangchun Baishue, "Miss Yang, I will never forget the kindness of saving my life back then. You just stay here. I will guarantee your safety." He Xinjiu silently cursed while eating the pastry that Buttface had brought to her mouth. What a prude. Miss Yang? Calling her little darling was ridiculous. Yangchun Baishue recalled what Yun Shujiu had said earlier and said anxiously, do you know about the matter regarding the demon sky clock?" The second prince nodded. "I understand what you mean. Don't worry. Even if the news spreads, I will do my best to protect you." Yangchun Baishue was taken aback. She had not expected the second prince to know about the demon sky clock, much less that he had decided to protect her after knowing about the demon sky clock. Hei Xingjiu rolled her eyes when she saw Yangchun Baishui in a daze. She floated in front of her and said, "Little Meme, ask him what he is going to do next." Yangchun Baishui immediately repeated Yun Chujia's words. When the second prince saw Buttface fawning over Hei Xingjiu, he knew that the puppet was not simple. Therefore he was not surprised when he saw her communicating with Yangchun Baishui. Although I have already sent people to suppress the news, I estimate that in 3 days at most, the news will reach the ears of father and the other nobles. Therefore before that I will take action to seize the throne. The second prince did not hide his intentions and revealed everything. Yangchun Baixu's eyes widened in disbelief. Seizing the throne was a huge matter. Would it work? Hei Xingjiu rolled her eyes. Little Meme was still too naive. This Lang Mofeng had narrowly escaped death back then. Naturally, he was more ruthless than the other princes in the imperial family. Since he had said it out loud, he was fully confident. Hei Xingjiu said a few more words to Yangchun Baishui. Yangchun Baixu's face turned red and she refused to ask anything. Hei Xingjiu had no choice but to dip her hand in the tea and write on the table, "How will you settle little Me when you ascend the throne in the future? Your subjects will not accept the women of the Eastern continent as your queen, right?" Chapter 4566. Secret Technique to Escape from the Host. The second prince's eyes twitched when he saw Hei Xingjiu's dog-like handwriting. Then he said seriously, "Miss Yang, I am a victim of the harem struggle. Therefore if I ascend to the throne, I will make you my empress and never take in concubines. I will not let our children become the victims of the harem struggle. As for the subjects' objections, that is easy to handle. My goal has never been just the throne in the Western continent. The Eastern continent and the Western continent are both beast-type demons. They are of the same lineage. If it were not for our constant internal strife, the land would not have been invaded by the plant demons. Therefore, I plan to unify the Eastern continent and the Western continent and take back the land occupied by the plant demons." Yangchun Baishui looked at the second prince in a daze, and her heart seemed to be filled with ripples. Even when Lu Zian fawned on her back then, she did not dare to hope that she would be the only one in the harem in the future. But he actually said that he would never take in a concubine? Thinking back to what he said about unifying the Eastern and Western lands, her heart was filled with admiration. Such a man was a true hero. Hei Xingjiu nodded her head in satisfaction. This Lang Mofeng was not bad at all. Although he was not as good as her gigolo, he was still considered a rare good man in the demon race. So, don't be blinded by this scumbag. There were plenty of good men in the world. Don't be anxious. You will meet the right man eventually. Although the second prince might have some plans for little Meme, after all, marrying a woman from the eastern lands would be beneficial to win over the hearts of the people in the future. However, it could not be denied that he still liked little Meme very much. Otherwise, he would not have remembered the pastries he had eaten back then, and would not have paid so much attention to little Meme for so many years. Hei Xingjiu did not ask the second prince about his specific plans. Since he had already decided to usurp the throne, he must have already made preparations. It was better for her to hurry up and cultivate. The earlier she could cultivate to a physical form, the earlier she could think of a way to break away from the host's restrictions and find the whereabouts of the big brick. 3 days later, the second prince initiated a palace coup. The original emperor of the Western continent had no choice but to give up his throne. The second prince succeeded the throne and was conferred the title of Emperor Jing Shun. For a long period of time, Yangchun Baishui could not see Emperor Kang Shun. Although he had taken the throne, there were still many remaining forces that needed to be dealt with. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Hei Xingjiu had finally cultivated to a physical form. Although her face was still dark, she could finally speak. This feeling was too damn good. After Hei Xingjiu had a physical form, she entered the library of the Western Continent's imperial palace. She wanted to find a way to escape from the host. She, the grand ghost ancestor, did not want to be someone else's puppet forever. Needless to say, she had spent a few days before she finally found a secret technique that could escape from the host on a yellowed sheepskin scroll. However, there were 3 conditions to execute the secret technique. First, the host had to cooperate and allow the host to use the secret technique. Second, the puppet had to cultivate to a physical form. Third, the host's demonic power had to reach the level of a demon spirit. When Hei Xingjiu saw the third condition, she suddenly felt that she would never be able to leave the host for the rest of her life. Buttface's host, Emperor Jing Shun, had previously concealed his powers. He was currently at the 8th level of the demon primary level, and it would not be a problem for him to work hard to reach the level of a demon spirit. But little Meme was only at the 3rd level of the demon primary level. With that useless physique of hers, it would be a pipe dream for her to reach the demon spirit level. Hei Xinjia's face darkened even more. And what kind of treasures had her parents left behind for her? Perhaps if she could figure out these two things, she would be able to raise little Meme's demon essence level. Chapter 4567 was swallowed. Hei Xinjiu immediately flew back to Yangchun Baixu's bedroom. Although it had not been officially established, Yangchun Baixu's treatment was comparable to that of the Empress. Her days were extremely comfortable. Little Meme, you said earlier that there was a problem with your demonic energy. What exactly is the problem? Hei Xinjiu went straight to the point. When Yangchun Baixue heard her mention the demonic energy, her eyes immediately dimmed. She sighed and said, "The rate at which my demonic energy absorbs demonic energy is very slow. I don't know what is going on either." Yun Chujio blinked her eyes and asked, "What treasure did your parents leave you?" This time Yangchun Baixue did not hesitate. She took out a black bead from her storage ring and said, "It's this bead. It was passed down from our ancestors. No one knows what effect this bead has." Hei Xinjiu saw that the bead in Yangchun Baixu's hand was similar to the ones that were swallowed by the black bead, so she opened her mouth to ask. However, when she opened her mouth, the bead in Yangchun Baixu's hand flew into her mouth. Then, it was swallowed by the black bead. Hei Xinjiu opened her mouth and said, "Well, would you believe me if I said that this bead entered my mouth by itself?" Yangchun Baixue was dumbfounded. The treasure of the house that she had sworn to protect was swallowed by her puppet just like that? Back then, she had already planned that if she could not ring the demon sky bell, she would swallow the bead into her stomach and she would not let Lu Zian get his hands on it no matter what. But now it was swallowed by her own useless puppet. Hei Xinjiu felt a rare pain in her conscience and said dryly, "Little Meme, this matter is a little complicated. Anyway, your bead is completely gone. What compensation do you want? I will definitely try my best to help you do it." Yangchun Baixue came back to her senses and sighed. "Forget it. You have already helped me a lot. If you don't want to swallow the bead, then just swallow it. Anyway, I don't know what the use of that bead is." Yun Chujio felt even more apologetic when she said that. She said, "Then he'll give you the demon sky bell. Although it has become smaller now, it might change back one day." Hei Xinjiu wanted to remove the red rope from her hand, but she could not do so no matter how hard she tried. She did not know what material the red rope was made of, and she could not break it even with scissors. "Little Gio, there's no need. Since the demon sky bell was tied to your wrist, it means that it chose you. You really don't have to compensate me. I've thought it through. That bead is just a dead object. If it's gone, then so be it," said Yangchun Baixue. She felt that her current life was very happy, and all of this was obtained by Hei Xinjiu. If the bead was gone, then so be it. Hei Xinjiu felt touched and apologetic when she heard that. Thinking of Yangchun Baixu's demon essence, she said, "Break your finger and drop 2 drops of blood." Useful. Yangchun Baixue looked baffled, but she still followed Hei Xinjiu's instructions and dropped 2 drops of blood. Hei Xinjiu sniffed it. In fact, she let Go Weiba sniff it. Go Weiba's tail trembled, indicating that there was poison in the blood. Yin Chujio was just guessing. She did not expect her to guess correctly. As for the person who poisoned it, it was most likely the emperor of the eastern continent. The death of Yangchun Baixu's parents was probably not that simple. Although Yun Chujio and Go Weiba could not communicate verbally, it was a good thing that the royal palace of the western continent had many medicinal herbs. After 2 days, Yun Chujio finally found all the herbs to detoxify the poison. Chapter 4568. Hei Xinjiu did not know the alchemy skills of the demon race, so she asked Emperor Jing Shun to summon a doctor to refine the herbs into pills for Yangchun Baixue to consume. Only then did Yun Chujio tell Yangchun Baixue her guess. Since she was not very old when her parents were in trouble, she did not have any doubts. Now that she heard Yun Chujio's words, she felt that something was not right. Her parents were in their prime, but they were seriously ill at the same time. Could it really be Emperor Kang Shao of the eastern continent? In order to get the answer to the question, they could only wait for Emperor Jing Shun to attack the eastern continent and capture Emperor Kang Shao. In the following period of time, it was unknown if it was because the toxins in her body had been removed, but Yangchun Baixu's monster power continued to rise. In just a month's time, her monster power had surpassed Emperor Jing Shun and directly soared to the first level of the monster spirit realm. Hei Xinjiu immediately let Yangchun Baixue use her secret technique. The process was very smooth, and Hei Shinjio finally regained her freedom. However, there was a slight deviation in the result. Hei Shinjio touched her pig nose. Damn it, who could tell her why she had become a pig demon? Seeing Hei Xinjia's new image, Buttface did not care about his fear anymore. He rolled on the ground and laughed, ha. Ah. Little fairy, you haha, I can't take it anymore. My stomach hurts so much. I'm dying of laughter. Hei Shinjio sent him flying with a kick. How fucking annoying. Yangchun Baishue couldn't help but laugh. Although pig demons were ugly among the demons, Little Jio's transformation into a pig demon was still quite cute. Jing Shundi simply walked out of the house. Otherwise, His Majesty as the Emperor would be in ruins. Haha, it was so funny. The sadness in Hei Xinjia's heart was like a river flowing against the current. If the gigolo saw her like this, he probably wouldn't kiss her anymore, right? How could he swallow her like this? Why did he turn into a pig? Even if he turned into a sheep demon, it was still better than a pig demon. Even if he didn't turn into a rabbit demon, it was still fine. When only Hei Shinjio and Buttface were left, Buttface said, Little fairy, I know. This must have something to do with your spirit beast being a pig. Have you forgotten that your majesty has even turned into a snake? Upon hearing this, Hei Shinjio recalled her dark history of torturing the small silver snake and inexplicably felt that she had suffered retribution. She comforted herself. Anyway, she could not stay in the demon realm forever. She would return to the ghost realm when she found the big brick, and her body would return to normal when she returned to the towering sky continent. After thinking about it, she did not care anymore. Wasn't it just a pig's nose? It was really nothing, really. After Jing Shundi eliminated the opposing forces in the west, he personally went on a crusade against the east. Yangchun Bakes's demonic power level was pretty good now, so she went to the front line with him. Hei Shinjio naturally followed her. With Hei Xinjia's evil schemes, the West Army was unstoppable. They soon reached the imperial city in the east. Lu Zian was so angry when he saw Yangchun Baishue beside Jing Shundi. Yangchun Baishue, as a native of the eastern continent, you actually colluded with the western continent to attack the eastern continent. Are you worthy of the ancestors of the Yang family? If you immediately abandon the dark and join the light, Father can let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, you will definitely die without a burial place. Lu Zian said angrily. Chapter 4569. Beware of being struck by lightning. Before Yangchun Baishue could say anything, Hei Shinjio said, Bah! You shameless bastard. Your dear tribe is running amok and you are the common people. Little Meme is trying to save everyone. Besides, the eastern continent and the western continent were originally from the same lineage, and unification was the trend of the times. Otherwise, sooner or later, the plant demons would devour the territory of the beast demons. Moreover, how did little Meme's parents die? Don't you father and son have any idea? You have harmed Zhong Liang, and you still have the face to criticize little Meme here? How shameless. Lu Zian's face alternated between green and white after being scolded by Hei Shinjio. He felt that this demonic pig looked a little familiar. Why did it look a little similar to Yangchun Bakes's puppet? He did not have time to think about it. He was so embarrassed that he scolded angrily, You demonic pig, you ugly freak. Hei Shinjio did not listen to Lu Zian's subsequent scolding because the word pig demon had completely angered this guy. Although this guy had already accepted the fact because of her special status in the western continent, no one dared to call her a pig demon in front of her. Now she was yelled out in public by this Lu Zian. How could this guy not be angry? You scum, shut up. You shameless scum, how dare you scold me? Be careful of being struck by lightning. Boom. A purple heavenly lightning descended from the sky and struck Lu Zian's body. Lu Zian lost his balance and fell down from the city wall. Buttface naturally wouldn't let go of this good opportunity to flatter Lu Zian. He immediately rushed up and bit Lu Zian's throat, directly killing him. Everyone was stunned. What was going on? Why did the pig demon say that Lu Zian was struck by lightning? Could she summon heavenly lightning? Hei Shinjio was also a little confused. Since her jinx skill could be used in the demon area? However, the pig demon immediately had an idea and said in a clear voice, Did you all see that? Lu Zian was struck by lightning. What does that mean? It meant that the monster ancestor also hoped that the eastern and western continents could be united to resist the plant monster together. People of the eastern continent, are you going to go against the monster ancestor's wishes? The people of the eastern continent were already in a state of panic. On top of that, the rule of the deer race was becoming more and more brutal. Now that Hei Shinjio had said that, they had no intention of resisting. Upon seeing this, Emperor Jingshun immediately gave the order to attack the city. Without much effort, Emperor Jingshun led his men to attack the imperial city and captured Emperor Kangxiao alive. Under interrogation, Emperor Kangxiao finally admitted the truth of poisoning Yangchun Baixu's parents. On one hand, he was afraid that General Yang and his wife's achievements would shock the master. On the other hand, he wanted to obtain the Yang family's ancestral treasure, so he poisoned the two of them. As for poisoning Yangchun Baixue, it was to make it easier to control her. After all, a good-for-nothing was easier to control and tame than a genius. However, he did not expect that Lu Ziyan could not find any clues about the treasure from Yangchun Baixue despite his efforts. Emperor Kangxiao could not understand it no matter how hard he tried. The situation was originally good a few months ago, but how did the country fall in just a few months? Where did the turn of events begin? It seemed to have started when Yangchun Baixue summoned that human puppet. As for those who had once humiliated Yangchun Baixue, such as Tu Meyer, Yang Ming Sihai, and the others, they were all tied up by Emperor Jing Shundi and brought before Yangchun Baixue. Tu Meyer was both afraid and resentful. She had racked her brains, but in the end, it was all for naught, and she became the empress. Why was this crying Yangchun Baixue so lucky? Chapter 45-70 Little Meme Yangchun Baixu's gaze landed on Tu Meyer's twisted face and she said indifferently, "Do you feel very unconvinced?" Tu Meyer gritted her teeth and said, "Yes, I'm unconvinced. In terms of looks, I'm not inferior to you. In terms of family background, I'm also not inferior to you. Your demonic powers are not even worth mentioning. Other than crying, what else do you know?" Yangchun Baixue smiled bitterly and said, "You're right. I only know how to cry. You're indeed not inferior to me." Tu Meyer sharply said, "You do know your own limitations. I'm just a little worse than you. Otherwise, I would still be the crown princess consort, and you would only be a crown princess who is at my mercy. Yes, my luck is a little better than yours. Other than that, I also have an advantage over you. That is, I've never harmed anyone, nor have I ever had the intention to harm anyone. If you had not coveted my position as the crown princess consort back then, nothing would have happened later. Therefore you were killed by your own greed and wickedness. You cannot blame anyone else." Yangchun Baixu's tone was still indifferent. However, her words made Tu Meyer's face turn red with anger, and she almost fainted from anger. Yangchun Baixue continued, "Oh right, you still don't know, right? My demonic power is already at the 1st level of the demon spirit realm, and you are still at the 6th level of the demon spirit realm. Which one of us is trash?" Only then did Tu Meyer notice that she was actually unable to see Yangchun Baixu's cultivation level clearly. Could it be that what she said was true? She had already reached the 1st level of the demon spirit realm? Tu Meyer suddenly felt that she had lost miserably. There wasn't even a chance for her to turn things around. Yang Ming Sihai saw that Tu Meyer was in a daze and didn't speak anymore. He hurriedly knelt down and begged, "Ni Shuer, I am your biological uncle. On account of the fact that we are family, please spare me. Ni Shuer, you only have me as your family. Please spare me. As long as you spare me, I will definitely conceal my identity and never appear in front of you again." Yangchun Baixue sneered, "Biological uncle? The reason why Emperor Kangxiao poisoned me and my parents so smoothly, do you dare to say that it has nothing to do with you? After my parents passed away, you tried every possible means to seize the family property. If it were not for the comprehensive plan that my parents thought of before they passed away, you would have already succeeded, right? After that, under Lu Ziyan's instructions, you tried to trick me into handing over the things my parents left me. You are not worthy to be a member of the Yang family. You'd better go underground and apologize to my parents. Men, push these people out and kill them." Immediately, the guards pushed everyone out while Yangchun Baixue sat on a chair with some disappointment. Yin Chujio watched from the side. People would grow up eventually. Yangchun Baixue was no longer the timid little meme that only knew how to cry. This was good too. Otherwise, even though Emperor Jing Shun had promised that he would never take in concubines, there would definitely be ministers trying to squeeze women into his side. If little Meme did not become strong, it would be at a disadvantage in the future. After Emperor Jing Shun reached the 1st level of the demon spirit realm, he also used a secret technique to let Buttface free. Hei Shinjio could not help but feel a little jealous. Why did Buttface maintain his original appearance while she turned into a pig demon? This fellow prayed to the gods and Buddhas in his heart, heaven, earth, and spirits. Pretty boy, please don't be teleported to the demon territory. Otherwise, if he sees her like this, she will be ashamed to live. Chapter 4571. The White Fox Woman's Puppet. Hei Shinjio asked Jing Shundi to help investigate the whereabouts of the large brick. However, no one from the east or west had summoned a large brick puppet. However, there was an unexpected gain. Little Jio, His Majesty told me that a white fox woman summoned a human puppet. It's said to be a man. He's quite good looking. Do you want to meet him? Yang Chun Baishue said with a smile. Hei Xinjia's heart thumped and her head buzzed. A man? He's quite good looking? Fuck, it can't be her gigolo, right? As everyone knew, fox women were the most seductive. Could it be that the gigolo's innocence had been destroyed? She hadn't even succeeded yet, and she was already being taken advantage of by a vixen? This guy touched his own pig nose again, feeling very stifled. Yang Chun Baishue saw that Yun Chujio didn't speak for a long time, and said hesitantly, Little Jio, you don't want to see her? Then I'll go and tell. No, I want to see her, Hei Shinjio said hurriedly. After Yang Chun Baishue passed Hei Xinjia's opinion to Jing Shundi immediately sent someone to summon the fox woman into the imperial palace. Although Empress Yang was quite good looking, how could she compare to the white fox woman? Furthermore, she was the most beautiful white fox woman. As long as she entered the imperial palace, she would bring down Empress Yang sooner or later. Moreover, Empress Yang no longer had any direct relatives and was alone. She was different. Her grandfather was the clan leader of the Fox clan, and he would crush her in all aspects. Although she summoned a humanoid puppet, didn't Empress Yang also summon a humanoid puppet? Perhaps His Majesty liked such a tone. The more Hu Jiaojiao thought about it, the more she felt that the position of Empress was hers. Therefore, when she saw Yang Chun Baishue, not only was she not very respectful, she even carried a bit of disdain. Yang Chun Baishue was now much more transparent than before. Naturally, she could see through Hu Jiaojiao's thoughts and felt that it was somewhat funny. Hu Jiaojiao gave a perfunctory bow. Yang Chun Baishue did not say much and asked someone to watch her seat. Before Yang Chun Baishue could speak, Hu Jiaojiao said, Your Majesty, His Majesty summoned me into the palace. When will His Majesty come? Yang Chun Baishue picked up the teacup and took a sip of tea. The palace maid beside her immediately understood what she meant and berated Hu Jiaojiao. How dare you? How can you ask about His Majesty's whereabouts? Hu Jiaojiao was shocked and her heart was filled with hatred. When she entered the palace and became the empress, she would definitely kill this lowly servant. Yang Chun Baishue did not say anything. She just calmly sipped her tea and left Hu Jiaojiao hanging there. Hei Shinjio, who was standing behind Yang Chun Baishue, was secretly delighted. Little Meme was becoming more and more powerful. This Hu Jiaojiao really did not know her own capabilities. Did she think that Jing Shundi had taken a fancy to her? Shameless. Hei Shinjio wore a veil on her face for no other reason. This fellow was afraid that Hu Jiaojiao's puppet was de-biming. She did not want to expose her pig nose. At the very least, she had to give the pretty boy some time to recover. Yang Chun Baishue gave Hu Jiaojiao the cold shoulder for a while before saying, Miss Hu, I heard that you summoned a human puppet? Can you summon it for me to see? Hu Jiaojiao wanted to refuse, but she didn't dare. She could only summon her puppet reluctantly. Chapter 4572 almost became a pickle. Hei Xinjia's heart was in a mess. She hoped that it was de-biming who was summoned, but she didn't want it to be de-biming. She was in a dilemma. However, when this guy saw the puppet that was summoned by Hu Jiaojiao, he almost laughed out loud. The puppet that was summoned by Hu Jiaojiao was pretty good looking. It had also cultivated to a physical form. However, it had a wooden face and looked like it had nothing to live for. Yang Chun Baishue caught a glimpse of Hei Xinjia's trembling shoulders from the corner of her eye. Her eyes were almost smiling into crescent moons. She thought to herself, could it be that she knew this puppet? However, looking at her gloating expression, could it be that this person had a grudge with her in the past? Hu Jiaojiao saw that Yang Chun Baishue was sizing up her puppet. A hint of understanding flashed in her eyes. It seemed that this Empress Yang was in the same boat as her. Although the human puppet was not as beautiful as the fox man, it was more manly. It was not bad to keep it around as a toy. However, the wooden puppet was unromantic and she had no way to fully control it. She was frustrated that she had not succeeded yet. Hei Shinjio poked Yang Chun Baix's back with her finger. Yang Chun Baishue understood and immediately said with a smile, Miss Hu, the puppet that I summoned is also a human puppet. Can they come to the side hall to exchange their cultivation experience? Hu Jiaojiao finally noticed Hei Shinjio, who was wearing a veil. Her heart skipped a beat. Could it be that Empress Yang really had feelings for her puppet? Of course, she was happy to see that happen. She immediately waved her hand at her puppet, indicating for it to leave with Hei Shinjio. The puppet followed Hei Shinjio out of Yangchun Baixu's palace with a wooden expression and went to a side hall next to it. After entering the side hall, Hei Shinjio could not hold it any longer. She held her stomach and squatted on the ground, laughing so hard that she almost cried out. The puppet's wooden face showed some anger. He shouted hoarsely, "What are you laughing at?" Hei Shinjio laughed and said, "Little Shadow, have you already been slept with by that vixen?" "Ah, I'm dying of laughter. You've actually become a vixen's puppet." He only remembered that after a blinding white light, he knew nothing. When he regained consciousness, he had become Hu Jiaojiao's puppet. When he realized his new identity, it was as if he had been struck by lightning. What was that? Puppet? Monster race? Wasn't the monster race already extinct? Why were there so many monsters here? Wait a minute, let's put the extermination of the monster race aside for now. Why did he become a puppet? The first thought that flashed through his mind was that he had been tricked. He had been tricked by Hei Shinjio. It must be her doing. However, after he calmed down, he felt that perhaps he had only been implicated by that damn Yunchujo. This might be the place that the drifter had mentioned had many spirit souls. Qiying was able to hide in the myriad ghosts cave for such a long time. Naturally, his mental fortitude was not something that ordinary people could compare to. Hence, after a short period of panic, he began to concentrate on his cultivation. However, when he condensed a physical body, he was met with tragedy. Although he did not look as seductive as the fox man, Hu Jiaojiao saw that he had a different kind of manliness and tried to seduce him in every way possible. Qiying naturally would not take the bait and refused every time. Seeing that he was not up to the task, Hu Jiaojiao drugged his diet. The miserable Qiying soaked in cold water for 3 days and 3 nights and almost became a pickle. Chapter 4573. Could she be that pig demon? Although Qiying wanted to stay in Hu Jiaojiao's sea of consciousness and not come out, he was not as perverted as Yun Chujiao and could not be controlled by Yangchun Baixue. Once Hu Jiaojiao summoned him, he could only passively come out from the sea of consciousness. In addition, Hu Jiaojiao was full of tricks. Qiying was simply living a life worse than death. Sometimes, he even thought that he might as well have committed suicide in front of Yun Chujiao so that he could at least keep his innocence. Countless humiliating scenes flashed through Qiying's mind. When he saw Hei Shinjio laughing maniacally again, he felt so ashamed that he wanted to bang his head against the wall. When he heard the words "little shadow," he knew that the guy in front of him was none other than Yun Chujiao, who had caused him to suffer a fate worse than death. Hei Shinjio looked at Qiying, who wanted to strangle her to death, and her smile grew wider. This idiot still wanted to lurk by her side and inform the Divine Devil Hall? He could not torture him to death. While Qiying was angry, he suddenly had an idea. Right now, only the little devil could help him get rid of that vixen. It would be better for him to curry favor with her first and deal with her when he returned to the towering sky continent. Thinking of this, Qiying's expression changed from anger to pleading. "Yun Chujiao, help me find a way to get rid of that Hu Jiaojiao's control. I will definitely repay your kindness in the future. Littling, it's not difficult for me to save you, but you have to tell me first. Have you slept with that Hu Jiaojiao?" Hei Xinjia's eyes were full of burning gossip. "Little Shadow, I don't understand. That Hu Jiaojiao is so charming. Just let her be. Why do you have to break away from her control?" Hei Shinjio said with a wicked smile. Qiying gnashed his teeth and said, "How can a man be coerced by a vixen? I want to obey her even if I die." Hei Shinjio almost laughed out loud. Qiying's look was really arrogant. Qiying took a deep breath and resisted the urge to slap Yun Chujiao to death. He said patiently, "Do you have any way to get me out of her control?" Yun Chujiao sighed and said, "Little Shadow, although I have a way, it's a little difficult. First, you have to let that Hu Jiaojiao cultivate to the first level of the demon spirit realm. Moreover, she has to take the initiative to use a secret technique to set you free. Since she covets you, why would she take the initiative to set you free?" Qiying's heart sank when he heard that. Putting aside whether or not Hu Jiaojiao would agree to set him free, that Hu Jiaojiao was only at the 6th level of the demon beginning realm. It was still too early for her to cultivate to the first level of the demon spirit realm. Was he going to be manipulated by that vixen? Hei Shinjio looked at Qiying's despondent expression and comforted him. "In a few days, the books from the royal palace of the East Continent will be transported here. I will flip through them when the time comes. Maybe there are other ways. You have to bear with it for a few days." Qiying was still useful, so Hei Shinjio naturally would not leave him to die. Qiying had no other choice but to nod in agreement. When the two of them left the side chamber, Qiying noticed that Hei Shinjio had been wearing a veil the whole time. Just as he was about to ask, he suddenly remembered some rumors from the West Continent. It was said that there was a pig demon by Empress Yang's side who could communicate with the demon ancestor and even command the heavenly thunder. Could the pig demon mentioned be her? He Xingjiu saw Qiying staring at her veil and glared at him. What are you looking at? If you keep looking, I'll send you to Hu Jiaojiu's bed. Chapter 45-74 Qiying's thoughts. Qiying's tiger body trembled and he did not dare to look anymore. However, in his heart he was already certain that He Xingjiu was the legendary pig demon. He could not stop laughing in his heart. This Yun Chujiu had already become a pig demon, and she still had the nerve to laugh at him? If Di Biming knew that she had become a pig demon, he might despise her and the two of them would turn against each other. The more Qiying thought about it, the more excited he became. However, he did not dare to show it because he believed that Yun Chujiu would really do something like sending him to Hu Jiaojiu's bed. When Yun Chujiu and Qiying returned, they did not expect Jing Shundi to be in the palace. Qiying's admiration for him was like a torrential river. He was really calm for being able to keep his innocence by Hu Jiaojiu's side. A hint of impatience flashed across Jing Shundi's eyes. However, seeing that Yangchen Baixue had no intention of sending him off, he had no choice but to drink his tea quietly. Seeing that He Xingjiu had returned, Yangchen Baixue said to Hu Jiaojiao, "Miss Hu, I still have something to discuss with His Majesty. You may take your leave." Hu Jiaojiu's eyes were filled with tears as she looked at Jing Shundi. Unfortunately, Jing Shundi did not even look at her. Hu Jiaojiao had no choice but to leave unwillingly. When she left, she turned around 3 times, hoping that Jing Shundi would say something to stop her. After Hu Jiaojiao left, Yangchen Baixue smiled and asked, "Your Majesty, what do you think of Hu Jiaojiao?" Jing Shundi chuckled and said, "Shuer, are you jealous? Not to mention that she is such a flirtatious woman, no woman in my heart can compare to a strand of your hair." He Xingjiu almost burst out laughing. This Jing Shundi really knew how to flirt with girls. Yangchen Baixu's face was red with embarrassment. She forced herself to change the topic uncomfortably and asked, "He Xingjiu, little Jiu, are you old friends with Hu Jiaojiu's puppet?" Previously, Yun Chujiu had fabricated her background and concealed her identity as a ghost ancestor. She only said that they were all members of the ghost clan and were here to look for their companions. Although Emperor Jing Shun and Yangchen Baixue were skeptical, they were certain that Yun Chujiu and the others had no ill intentions, so they did not ask further. Therefore, Yangchen Baixue would now ask if Yun Chujiu and Qiying were old friends. Yun Chujiu nodded. "They are indeed old friends and he is my friend. It's just that Hu Jiaojiu's demonic power is too low, and she might not be willing to let him go. It's a bit difficult." Emperor Jing Shun said in a low voice, "It doesn't matter if she is willing or not. I have given an order and I don't think she would dare to defy it. However, it's very difficult for her demonic power to reach the first level of the demon spirit realm." Little Jiu, what His Majesty said makes sense. Many people will never be able to break through the shackles of the 9th level of the demonic spirit realm. I'm afraid it will be very difficult for your friend to escape from Hu Jiaojiu's control. Yangchen Baixue echoed. Yun Chujiu knew that what they said made sense. She could only hope that she could find a solution in the collection of books in the Imperial Palace of the Eastern Continent. To their surprise, the next day Hu Jiaojiao shamelessly asked to see Yangchen Baixue outside the palace gate. He Xingjiu said while eating the walnuts that Buttface had smashed, "Little Meme, it seems that the vixen wants to enter the palace to seduce your husband. What do you plan to do?" Yangchen Baixue said with a little self-deprecation, "I'm afraid there will be many more such people in the future. I may be able to block one, but I may not be able to block 100. Let's see how His Majesty will respond." Chapter 45-75 He Xingjiu felt that Yangchen Baixue was right. The root of the problem lay in Jing Shundi. Even if she defended day and night, she might not be able to defend against it. Yangchen Baixue sent a palace maid to reject Hu Jiaojiu's request to see her. Hu Jiaojiao left in a huff. Qiying, who was cultivating in her sea of consciousness, curled his lips. Empress Yang had that little devil by her side. This vixen still wanted to get close to her? He probably did not even know how he would die in the future. What Yangchen Baixue and He Xingjiu did not expect was that when Emperor Jing Shun was in the morning court the next day, he had made it clear to the civil and military officials that he would never take in a concubine in this lifetime. Whoever sent another woman to his side would be severely punished. When Yangchen Baixue heard the news, she burst into tears. He Xingjiu. However, it had to be said that this Emperor Jing Shun understood the thoughts of women very well. Little Meme did not marry the wrong person. 2 days later, the books from the Eastern Land Imperial Palace were brought into the Imperial Palace. Hei Xingjiu once again buried her head in her studies. Buttface also came over to help eagerly. "Little fairy, why haven't I seen that vixen's puppet before?" Buttface asked curiously. Buttface stared at her and said, "So it's someone from the Divine Devil Hall. Why did you save him? Just let him sleep with the fox spirit." Hei Xingjiu curled her lips. "The Divine Devil Hall has always been secretive. I still haven't figured out what's going on with them. I might be of great use if I keep Qiying by my side." Buttface blinked. "Little fairy, whatever you say is right. Since you want to save him, he'll support you with 4 paws." Hei Xingjiu. This guy was getting more and more adept at flattering her. Hei Xingjiu and Buttface searched for a few days and finally found a method. After Hei Xingjiu told Yangchun Baishua the method, Yangchun Baishua frowned. "Little Jiu, the treasure used in this array is easy to deal with. His Majesty will definitely find a way to get it. However, after this secret technique is used, Hu Jiaojiu's cultivation will be reduced by 2 levels. Will she agree to it?" Jing Shundi said from the side, "Leave this matter to me. I believe that the clan leader of the White Fox clan will agree to it with benefits." Jing Shundi's confidence was quickly smacked in the face. The Fox clan leader suggested that unless Hu Jiaojiao entered the palace as a concubine, the Fox clan would never agree to this matter. Jing Shundi wanted to take a forceful measure, but he was stopped by a trusted minister. "Your Majesty, the Fox clan and the Tiger clan have always had a good relationship. We have just unified the eastern and western continents. If we really offend the Fox clan, I'm afraid that it will cause a stir." Hearing this, Jing Shundi was a little cautious. After he returned, he told Yangchun Baishue and Hei Xingjiu about what had happened. Hei Xingjiu curled her lips. "Help me prepare the things I need and summon Hu Jiaojiao into the palace. They'll persuade her." Jing Shundi knew that this fellow was full of evil intentions, so he immediately nodded and agreed. When Hu Jiaojiao learned that Jing Shundi had summoned her into the palace, she was extremely pleased. She knew that His Majesty would definitely agree. After all, no man could resist her beauty. Previously, it was only because of that Empress Yang. Now that she had a way out, she naturally went down. Hence, Hu Jiaojiao dressed up very meticulously and entered the palace. Hu Jiaojiao was brought to a side hall by the palace maids. She was delighted. Could it be that the emperor was already impatient to have a good thing with her? Chapter 4576. Hu Jiaojiao who wished for a quick death. Hu Jiaojiao's excited mood quickly turned cold. After she was brought to the side chamber by the palace maid, the door was immediately closed. Inside the room was not Jing Shundi but the puppet wearing a veil. Hei Xingjiu looked at Hu Jiaojiao and said with a smile, "What? You don't think that the emperor brought you here, do you? You don't think that he called you here to have sex with you, do you?" Hu Jiaojiao subconsciously wanted to escape, but Hei Xingjiu said coldly, "You want to escape? There are guards outside the door, do you think you can escape?" Hei Xingjiu chuckled, "Won't let it go? You take your Fox clan too seriously. In other words, you take yourself too seriously. Even if I kill you, your grandfather wouldn't dare to fart. After all, there are many people in the Fox clan who want to be the clan leader. There are many people who don't want to be the clan leader." A hint of panic flashed across Hu Jiaojiao's face. You are spouting nonsense." Yun Chujiao shook her finger. "Wrong, you are spouting nonsense. After all, you are a vixen, aren't you? Hu Jiaojiao, let me be frank with you. That puppet of yours is my friend. You have to let it go no matter what. Don't even think about trying to reason with me. Don't talk about right and wrong. What I say is right and I am the law. What if you don't agree? I won't kill you. I will poison you. Your face will start to fester, and your beauty that you were so proud of will be gone. Do you think that you can find someone else to help you detoxify? I'm sorry, the poison that I made cannot be cured by anyone. Why don't we give it a try?" Hu Jiaojiao was both afraid and angry. You don't dare. You are scaring me." Yun Chujiao snorted coldly. Her figure was like a ghost as she approached Hu Jiaojiao. The dagger in her hand slashed Hu Jiaojiao's face. Hu Jiaojiao screamed immediately. She covered her face and looked at Hei Xingjiu who was standing in front of her in horror. Hei Xingjiu waved the dagger in front of her eyes and said, "There is no spice added to this dagger. If you still don't agree, I will have to add more spice to it." Hu Jiaojiao retreated in horror. Hei Xingjiu did not chase after her and said with a smile, "You will not be able to escape from my hands. I advise you to cooperate with me. After the deed is done, His Majesty will make you a princess. Do you want to be disfigured and live a life worse than death, or become a princess happily? He'll give you 15 minutes to consider." There was no suspense in the result. Hu Jiaojiao chose to cooperate in the end. Her blackmail methods were effective for normal people, but for a scoundrel like He Xingjiu she could only admit defeat. Even if she wanted to enter the palace and become a concubine, she had to be alive. She had no doubt that if she did not agree, the pig demon would really poison her. After Jing Shundi received the news, he could not help but shake his head and smile bitterly. The wicked will be tortured by the wicked. People like Hu Jiaojiao would have to be dealt with by little Jiu. Jing Shundi immediately arranged for people to set up the array, while Hu Jiaojiao was almost annoyed to death by He Xingjiu. Hu Jiaojiao, tell me the truth. How many men have you slept with? Hu Jiaojiao, what do you like about little Shadow? He doesn't look good either. Hu Jiaojiao, don't get married in the future. It would be great if you could marry 10 or 8 husbands and enjoy yourself at home. That way, other people would have more material to write their storybooks, right? Hu Jiaojiao, I beg for a quick death. Chapter 4577, Princess Ruhua. After the formation was set up, Hu Jiaojiao couldn't wait to enter the formation. This pig demon was simply a lunatic. She was so annoyed. Hu Jiaojiao spent nearly 4 hours before Qiying was finally removed from her sea of consciousness. She fainted from exhaustion. Emperor Jing Shun had someone give her a high-quality elixir. After she woke up, he rewarded her with many things and gave her the title of Princess Ruhua. Hu Jiaojiao had thought it through. Since things were already like this, it was not a bad thing to get the title of princess after getting so many things. Anyway, she could cultivate again. She was quite satisfied with the title of Ruhua. Her Ruhua beauty matched this title very well. Little did she know that He Xingjiu was the one who helped her to get this title. This guy was laughing so hard that he almost cried. Qiying had regained his freedom. He was so happy that he almost cried. He thought that he was going to be a vixen's puppet for the rest of his life. He did not expect that he had regained his freedom. Buttface said to Buttface, little Shadow, why aren't you thanking the little fairy? If it weren't for the little fairy, you would have become a vixen's man. Qiying snorted in his heart. Thank? If it weren't for Yun Chuzhou, would he have become the vixen's puppet? If it weren't for her, would he have suffered so much inhuman abuse? It was already good enough that he didn't hate her. However, when he thought about it, he still had to hide by Yun Chuzhou's side, so he could only pretend to be grateful and say, Yun Chuzhou, thank you for this matter. I will repay you well in the future. Yun Chuzhou waved her hand perfunctorily. This fellow was feeling frustrated. Why did Mao Qiang look exactly the same as before? Why was she the only one who turned into a pig demon? Just as He Xingjiu was feeling frustrated, the demon sky bell on her wrist, which had been silent the whole time, suddenly sucked her, Qiying, and Buttface in and then flew out. He Xingjiu was dumbfounded. What was wrong with this broken bell? Where was it taking them? Buttface and Qiying were even more dumbfounded. Yun Chuzhou shrugged. It's probably taking us out for a walk. The demon territory is so big it wants to take a look. Qiying. Yun Chuzhou pondered. The demon sky bell must have exhausted its demonic energy and stayed still. Now that it had recovered a part of its demonic energy, it was doing this. However, what was its ultimate goal? This fellow had a big heart. Since there was no way for it to leave the demon sky bell, it would be better to just come. At the same time, she could also inquire about the news of the big brick. Moreover, since Qiying had been teleported to the demon region, the pretty boy, Aog, and Chuemo were probably also teleported here. It was also good to go to other places to inquire about the news. Qiying saw that Yun Chuzhou was eating and drinking as if nothing had happened. He cursed in his heart. This stupid girl was really heartless. Wasn't she afraid that this broken bell would bring her to some dangerous place? What made Qiying even more upset was that Buttface finally had someone to bully. Naturally, he would not be polite and tormented Qiying until he almost went crazy. He once again doubted his original decision. If he had known it would be like this, he would have died. 3 days later, He Xingjiu and the other two were suddenly thrown out by the demon sky bell. Before He Xingjiu could rub her buttocks, she heard someone shout, "How dare you, pig demon? How dare you come to the territory of plant demon? Are you tired of living?" Chapter 4578, Was it your turn to be a pig demon? It was inconvenient for He Xingjiu to wear the veil inside the demon sky bell, so she had taken it off long ago. Qiying did not dare to laugh at her anyway. Therefore, she was recognized as a pig demon as soon as she appeared. He Xingjiu was immediately enraged when she was called a pig demon. However, this fellow's anger was quickly extinguished. There was no other reason. This fellow discovered that the three of them seemed to be at the market, and the people around them were obviously not beast demons. The person who spoke had a large radish on his forehead. It was probably a radish monster. The people around him had trees on their foreheads, grass on their foreheads, and mushrooms on their foreheads. Plant monsters were different from beast monsters. Their appearances were basically no different from humans. Only their true forms would appear on their foreheads. They had thrown them into the market because they were afraid that they would not die. Qing was also dumbfounded. No matter how powerful they were, they could not be a match for so many plant demons. Could it be that they were going to die? On the other hand, Buttface looked calm and composed. With the little fairy around, what was there to be afraid of? There was no problem that the little fairy could not solve. He just wanted to watch the show. If Hei Shinjo knew what Buttface was thinking, she would probably strangle him to death. Before Hei Shinjo could think of any countermeasures, she heard someone say, "These 3 beast monsters must be up to no good. They might be spies. Go beat them to death." When Hei Shinjo heard the word spies, her heart skipped a beat. She stood up and shouted sternly, "How dare you? Let's see who dares to touch us. We are the envoys sent by the beast monsters of the northern region. Quickly bring us to your emperor. If we delay the important matter, none of you will survive." The surrounding people were stunned at first, then they began to shout, "Do you think we are fools? If you are the messengers, why didn't you just hand over the national letter? Instead, you sneaked into our southern mountain range? You must be up to no good. No matter how bad your northern mountain range is, you still have to send a decent messengers. Do you think you are a pig demon?" That's right. A pig demon, a useless dog demon that can't transform, and a monkey demon. How dare they call themselves messenger? It's hilarious. Hei Shinjo almost exploded when she heard them call him a pig demon. Buttface widened his eyes as well. So what if he couldn't transform? These stupid plant demons must be jealous of his beauty. Qing was also sullen. How did he look like a demon? Why was he regarded as a monkey demon? After the discussion quieted down a little, Hei Shinjo said slowly, "You guys are really lacking in information. The 3 of us are not ordinary beast demons. We were originally puppets, but we only regained our freedom later. My host is the queen of the northern region, and his host is the emperor of the northern region. His host is Princess Ruhua. Are the 3 of us not qualified to be emissaries?" Hearing Hei Xinjia's words, the plant demons looked at each other. The radish demon who spoke first said, "Eh? I've heard that the empress of the northern region has a puppet of a pig demon. That puppet of Emperor Jing Shun is indeed a yellow puppy. As for Princess Ruhua, I've never heard of her." Some people in the crowd echoed, "That's right. I've heard of her too. Are they really envoys?" The crowd started discussing again. Someone suggested, no matter if they are envoys or spies, it's not wrong to send them to the government. Chapter 4579. Hei Xinjia's brainless fans. Hei Shinjo snorted coldly, "We don't need you to escort us, we'll leave by ourselves. Your southern mountain range is known as a country of etiquette. I didn't expect you to treat the envoys like this. You've really broadened our horizons." The plant demons were originally prepared to push Hei Shinjo and the other 2 a few times, but now that they heard Hei Xinjia's words, they did not dare to act rashly. They escorted the 3 of them to the government office. Although Hei Shinjo looked proud on the surface, she was cursing Demon Sky Clock in her heart. But now they could only take 1 step at a time. Soon they arrived at the government office. Hei Shinjo saw a man who looked like an official sitting in the main hall. Hei Shinjo almost laughed out loud when she saw the sweet potato pattern on the man's forehead. A thought flashed through his mind. If an official did not make decisions for the people, he might as well go home and sell sweet potatoes. Before the man could ask, Hei Shinjo said pretentiously. The official was stunned for a moment before he said, "This is the Imperial City." Hei Shinjo. Damn it, he was showing off. This is the Imperial City? Isn't the Imperial City too shabby? However, this guy didn't look embarrassed at all. He said, "You heard wrong. I'm talking about the Imperial Palace, not the Imperial City." The official frowned. "Since you said that you're the envoys of the northern region, do you have a national certificate? Or something to prove your identity?" Hei Shinjo complained in her heart. Her storage ring was filled with food. How could she have anything that could prove her identity? Not to mention the Imperial Edict. If she had known this would happen, she would have asked Emperor Jing Shun for some blank Imperial Edicts. Seeing that Yun Chujio did not reply for a long time, the official was shocked. "Even if you are the puppets of the Emperor and Empress of the northern region, if you did not have the official edict to infiltrate the southern region, you would be scheming against us. Men, take them to the prison and wait for me to report it to the higher-ups before you punish them." Therefore He Xingjiu and the rest were taken to the prison by the bailiffs. The prisoners in the prison all looked at He Xingjiu curiously. Someone whistled and said, "Io, we didn't enter this prison for nothing. We actually saw a pig demon. What an eye-opener. Look at her nose. It's so ugly." He Xingjiu was so angry that she almost died. This guy tried to persuade her. Patience was a virtue. Just take it that he was complimenting her. He Xingjiu and the other two were locked in a separate cell. The bailiff locked the cell door and left. Qiying lowered his voice and said to He Xingjiu, "What should we do next?" Even if they verify our identities, the best outcome will be that they will be used as hostages to threaten Jing Shundi. Although Jing Shundi treats you well, if the plant demon lion opens its mouth, he will definitely not care about our lives. Buttface glared at him. Get lost. What can be difficult for the little fairy? The little fairy can easily kill them with her evil deeds. Qiying couldn't take it anymore. Stop bragging at a time like this. If she had a way, would she still be locked up in prison? Buttface rolled his eyes. You don't know that. The little fairy must be trying to do something in this prison. Otherwise, would those useless people still want to capture the little fairy? There was no problem in this world that the little fairy couldn't solve. The little fairy doesn't enter the tiger's den to get the tiger's son. Are you stupid? But you were almost slept with by a vixen. It's normal that your brain isn't working. Chapter 4580. Prison cell. Qiying was furious with Buttface. He thought to himself, as expected, the kind of master has the kind of spirit pet. He didn't know which ravine Yun Chujio picked up this stupid dog. He ignored Buttface and waited for Yun Chujio's answer. Yun Chujio looked speechlessly at Buttface, who had stars in his eyes. This time she didn't go into the tiger's den to get the tiger's son. She really had no choice. Speaking of which, it felt pretty good to have such a brainless fan who blindly trusted her. Qiying was right. Even if their identities were confirmed, they would be taken as hostages to threaten Jing Shundi because they did not have the national certificate. Prison break? Don't joke around. Although the three of them had high demonic power, they were in the territory of the plant demons. With such distinctive features, they could not escape at all. He Xingjiu looked at the demon sky clock on her wrist and mumbled, "If we die, you won't be able to do what you want to do. Stop pretending to be dead and bring us out of here." The demon sky clock did not respond at all, as if it was dead. Qiying glanced at Buttface. Did he mean that you stop bragging? Why don't you brag? Buttface looked at Qiying as if he was looking at an idiot and said, "What do you know? Little fairy, this is called using stillness to stop movement, and using unchanging to respond to changes. Just wait and see." Qiying was speechless. This stupid dog was most likely a pig's brain. The cells here were not separated by walls but by iron railings. Therefore, although the people in the other cells could not hear the whispers of Yun Chujio and the other two, it did not stop them from pointing at the three of them. Since Qiying's appearance was no different from theirs, and Buttface was similar to an ordinary puppy, the focus of the prisoners' discussion was basically He Xingjiu, the pig demon. He Xingjiu was originally too lazy to bother with them, but she rolled her eyes and felt that it was not bad to get some information while she was at it. Therefore this fellow waved his claws at the people in the left and right cells. "Brothers, the cells are connected by a thread. Cherish this fate. Mzhu Xiaojiu. How should I address you, brothers?" Qiying's jaw almost fell off. What nonsense was this? They even had a connection in the prison cell, cherishing this fate? However, it had to be said that this wretched girl's skin was thick enough, and she even gave herself the fake name of Zhu Xiaojiu? Was she addicted to being a pig demon? The prisoners on both sides of the prison cell were also dumbfounded. This pig demon was most likely crazy, right? "Big brothers, I'm an envoy from the northern region, but because we lost the national letter, I was locked up inside. Brothers, since I have nothing to do, why don't I tell you about the northern region? Are you interested?" He Xingjiu said with a smile. The prisoners were so bored that mushrooms were growing out of their heads. Naturally, they wanted He Xingjiu to tell them quickly. He Xingjiu didn't hesitate and started to sing happily. He Xingjiu was good at singing, so she sang with passion. The prisoners were mesmerized. Even the two prison guards came over to listen to He Xingjiu. When the two prison guards saw that He Xingjiu's mouth was dry, they even specially brought in a pot of tea and a plate of pastries. Qiying rolled his eyes speechlessly. Was this a prison or a tea house that listened to books? Chapter 4581, New News. Qiying really did not understand He Xinjia's purpose of doing this. Was she trying to impress the public? He Xinjio did not continue when she reached the most critical point in the climax. She said, "I'm too tired from talking. I need to rest for a while. Does anyone have anything new to tell me?" Those people wished they could rush into the prison cell and strangle He Xinjio to continue. However, they had no choice but to talk about some new news. He Xinjia's eyes flickered. She had extracted some information from those new things. For example, the royal family of the plant demon tribe was a Rattan tribe. For example, the opening hours of the city gates of the imperial city. For example, the patrolling characteristics of the imperial city. Someone talked about a new thing. 300 miles away from the imperial city, there were two families in Zhucheng that were sworn enemies. Recently they had become in-laws. It was said that the young couple had summoned human-shaped puppets. He Xinjia's heart skipped a beat. Those two human-shaped puppets were most likely two of the pretty boy, Aog, and Chuamo. Otherwise, the two sides would not have suddenly become friends. If she could escape from the prison, she would have a temporary place to stay in Zhucheng. As for how to escape from the prison, it could not be any simpler. The prisoners in the prison would be fed with medicine powder to dissolve the demonic power. However, it was useless to a pervert like He Xinjio. After a while, she continued to tell stories. After a while, she asked the jailer to bring her tea. The two jailers did not know that there was a trap. As soon as they opened the prison door, they were controlled by He Xinjio and Qiying. Just as the prisoners were about to make a noise, He Xinjio made a gesture of silence and said, "Don't make a noise. I'll let you go later." When the prisoners heard this, they stopped making a ruckus and obediently waited for He Xinjio to let them go. He Xinjio knocked the two prison guards unconscious and then changed into their clothes. However, her pig nose was really difficult to deal with, so she had no choice but to cover it with a black cloth. She could disguise herself, but time was limited, so she had to escape first. He Xinjio signaled Qiying with her eyes, and the two of them quickly left the prison area with butt face. The prisoners were stunned at first, and then they cursed angrily. So that pig demon was lying to them? How shameless. He even dared to lie to the prisoners. He Xinjio couldn't be bothered with them. Since these people were most likely caught committing crimes, how could she let them out? Moreover, would the consequences be the same if only the three of them escaped and broke out of the prison together? If the matter got out of hand, it would be as difficult as climbing up to the sky if they wanted to escape from the city. However, they had to hurry up, otherwise the noise of the prisoners would soon attract the others. He Xinjio asked Qiying to push Buttface into his arms. Anyway, Buttface was very small, so no one could see anything. Buttface's face was full of disgust. He preferred to stay in the soft arms of the little fairy. However, when he thought of a certain someone who was jealous, he still covered his nose and went into Qiying's clothes. Qiying snorted coldly. This stupid dog still despised him. If it was not forced by the situation, he would have killed it long ago. When she was brought into the prison, He Xinjio had already memorized the route. Moreover, it was already dark. Although she encountered the patrolling guards, no one questioned her. He Xinjio and Qiying successfully exited the government office. However, the government office soon became noisy. It was likely that something had happened. Chapter 4582, Are you sure this is the ancestral monster temple? What should we do? Where are we going? The city gates are closed now, Qiying said anxiously. He Xinjio blinked her eyes and said, "Go to the ancestral monster temple. They will never think that we will hide there. When the wind blows over, we will disguise ourselves and leave the city." Qiying felt that Yun Chujio had gone crazy. And it was not light. The ancestral monster temple? Even if he thought with his heels, that place was heavily guarded. How could he sneak in? He Xinjio saw Qiying's worry. She chuckled and said, "When the willow tree spirit talked about something new, he once mentioned that the ancestral monster temple was extremely sacred in the hearts of the plant demons. They would only go in to clean and pay their respects on the prescribed days. There will definitely be no one in the middle of the night. Besides, the usual rules are 15th day of the Lunar New Year. Today is only the 7th day of the Lunar New Year. We can hide there for at least a few days." Hearing He Xinjia's words, Qiying recalled that the willow tree spirit had mentioned that. He did not expect that this fellow was not telling stories out of boredom. He was just trying to get information. Although He Xinjio was not familiar with the imperial city, according to what the willow tree spirit said, the ancestral monster temple was in the south of the government office. Therefore the two of them sped toward the south. Qiying did not think that the palace looked like the ancestral monster temple. but seeing that Hei Xinjiu had already gone through the wall, he had no choice but to follow her in. Almost as soon as the two of them landed on the ground, the courtyard lit up. Hundreds of guards rushed out and surrounded the two of them. Who are they? How dare they break into the imperial palace at night? Qiying looked at Hei Xinjiu speechlessly. Where was the ancestral demon temple? Why did it become the imperial palace? Hei Xinjiu was speechless. Was she the one to blame? Wasn't the imperial palace too shabby? Seeing that the two of them did not make a sound, the guards rushed forward and grabbed them. Qiying wanted to resist, but seeing that Hei Xinjiu signaled him with her eyes, he had no choice but to give up. The reason why Hei Xinjiu gave up resisting was because the outside world was filled with officers and soldiers who had captured them. If they went out, they would also be captured. It was better to meet the emperor directly. At least their lives would not be in danger. It was unknown if the emperor had already gone to bed too late. In any case, he did not interrogate Hei Xinjiu and Qiying and had them locked up in the heavenly prison. Buttface, who was hiding in Qiying's arms, was also discovered and thrown into the heavenly prison together. Qiying felt as if he was cursing a dog in his heart. Well, they struggled for a long time and finally, they were thrown into the heavenly prison from the prison of a government office. They were really idle. However, Buttface said eagerly, "Little fairy, I know. You must have done it on purpose. Are you going to play dirty tricks again?" Hei Xinjiu glared at him fiercely. She felt that her luck had been a little bad recently. How could she be so unlucky? This fellow had a big heart. After feeling stifled for a while, he lay on the pile of grass and fell asleep. Qiying looked at Hei Xinjiu, who was sleeping soundly. He was so angry that he gritted his teeth. How could she fall asleep? He looked at Buttface, who was sprawled on the ground, and felt even more stifled. He simply closed his eyes and fell asleep. Early the next morning, Hei Xinjiu and the other two were escorted out of the heavenly prison by a group of guards. Qiying's heart was in a mess. Would he be directly interrogated and beheaded? Although he felt that it was a little troublesome to be by the side of this smelly girl, he still did not want to die. Chapter 4583. State Preceptor. Just as Qiying was feeling miserable, he heard Buttface shamelessly say, "My legs are too short to keep up with you. Hug me, Qiying." A crafty look flashed across Buttface's eyes. Little Fairy had already said that Qiying was a spy. Even if he were to torture him, the little fairy would not speak up for him. Qiying did not expect that they would be directly escorted to the throne room. Emperor Wen Yuan sat on the dragon throne, and on both sides stood the civil and military officials. At this moment, everyone's eyes fell on Hei Xinjiu and the other two. Hei Xinjiu's heart skipped a beat. Now she had to think of a way to stall for time. No matter what, as long as they could prove their identities, Emperor Wen Yuan would not kill them easily. Therefore, the guy bowed in a neither servile nor overbearing manner and said, "Your Majesty Wen Yuan, the three of us are here on a mission sent by His Majesty Jing Shun of the northern region. However, we accidentally lost the national letter on the way. If your Majesty does not believe us, you can verify our identities with His Majesty Jing Shun of the northern region." Emperor Wen Yuan sized up Yin Chujio and then looked at the civil and military officials. "My dear ministers, how do you think this matter should be decided? Your Majesty, if it was an envoy, the northern region should have submitted a letter to our country in advance. How could they have infiltrated our southern region? Therefore these three beasts should be treated as spies. Your Majesty, I have heard of these three beasts. They were all puppets before, but they broke away from the host. Their host is indeed the Emperor and Empress of the northern region. Your Majesty, since they do not have the national letter, they are spies who have infiltrated the southern region. Why don't we use them as hostages to negotiate with the northern region?" Emperor Wen Yuan nodded. He was about to imprison Hei Xinjiu and the others according to their suggestion and then negotiate with Emperor Jing Shun. However, he did not expect a guard to suddenly come in and report, "Your Majesty, the imperial tutor requests to see you." Emperor Wen Yuan was stunned. The national advisor never attended court. Why was he here today? Emperor Wen Yuan hurriedly said, "Please come in, national advisor." Judging from Emperor Wen Yuan's pleas, the national advisor seemed to have a high status. Soon an old man walked in. The old man just nodded at Emperor Wen Yuan and bowed. Emperor Wen Yuan didn't seem to mind at all. He smiled and said, "Imperial Preceptor, why are you free today?" "Your Majesty, last night I observed the celestial phenomenon and discovered an ominous object. This morning I learned that a pig demon had entered our southern region, so I rushed over." The Imperial Preceptor's expression was solemn. Emperor Wen Yuan frowned. "Ominous object? You mean the three of them? I was planning to lock them up and negotiate with the northern region. According to Imperial Preceptor, how should we deal with them? The National Master said solemnly, as far as I know, the three puppets escaped from their hosts using secret techniques. Such heinous behavior is only allowed in the wild places like the northern regions. Therefore, in order to prevent the demon ancestor from getting angry, the three of them should be trapped in the evil warding formation and killed with the help of the wooden fish left by the demon ancestor. Hei Shinjio was so angry that her nose was almost crooked. This damned old man, he was the ominous thing. His entire family was the ominous thing. And it was too vicious. There was the evil warding formation and the wooden fish left behind by the demon ancestor. He was afraid that they would not die. Chapter 4584. She was so unlucky. Emperor Wen Yuan hesitated after hearing the words of the National Master. National Master, we can't even send them back to the northern region? Emperor Wen Yuan had planned to kill Hei Shinjio and the others in exchange for a great deal of benefits. To be honest, he felt that it was a pity. Hei Shinjio also said hurriedly, that's right. His Majesty Jing Shun and the Empress like us very much. They will agree to whatever conditions you propose. The Imperial Tutor snorted coldly, Your Majesty, since this pig demon is an ominous creature, it will cause a storm even if it is released back to the northern region. Only by killing it can we eliminate the future trouble. The Imperial Tutor clearly had a lot of prestige in the southern region. Very soon some of the ministers agreed with him. They all said that Hei Shinjio and the other two were pests and they had to die. Hei Shinjio was furious. Fuck, a bunch of goblins still said that she was a pest? Shameless. The hand under this guy's sleeve had touched the demon heaven bell. He wished that he could crush it into powder. If not for this broken bell, how would she have ended up in this state? Emperor Wen Yuan pondered for a moment and said, all right, as the Imperial Tutor said, immediately bring these three beasts to the demon ancestor temple for execution. Qing was about to cry. If he had known earlier, he would have been better off being Hu Jiaojio's puppet. Although he had been tormented, he could at least keep his life. But now he was going to be killed as an ominous object. Buttface was still calm and composed. This fellow had a mysterious confidence in Hei Shinjio. Anyway, he felt that as long as he followed the little fairy, he would not die. Hei Shinjio was using her soul consciousness to pray to her ancestors. To be more precise, she was praying to the three foodies in her dantian. Unfortunately, this fellow promised a bunch of benefits. Only Guai Chao was acting cute in front of her. The other two were as if they were dead. The demon ancestor temple was right next to the imperial palace. Hei Shinjio felt as if she was cursing a dog in her heart. How unlucky was she? She was so close to the imperial palace, yet she had sneaked into it. She didn't know if the plant demons had a special way of spreading gossip, but when Hei Shinjio and the other two arrived at the ancestral monster temple, many plant demons had already gathered to watch the show. The ancestral monster temple was bigger than the imperial palace, and it had a large square. Even if there were many people gathered, the place was spacious enough. Hei Shinjio looked at the main hall of the ancestral monster temple curiously. She thought that she should be able to see the statue of the ancestral monster, but she didn't expect that there was only a huge, wooden fish in the middle. Hei Shinjio cursed in her heart. What the ancestral monster left behind was either a bell or a wooden fish. Could it be that the ancestral monster was a monk or a nun? Otherwise, why did all the things left behind have something to do with the temple? Just as the fellow was thinking, Buttface said with his divine sense, Little fairy, you really have a plan in mind. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the time to think about such nonsense at this time. Ever since Buttface and Yun Chujio had separated from the host, the two of them had regained their divine sense connection. However, Qing did not know about it. Buttface, this scheming dog, usually communicated with Yun Chujio using words. He did not give himself away at all. When Hei Shinjio heard Buttface's words, the corner of her eyes twitched violently. She was not confident at all. However, she suddenly had a flash of inspiration. That bastard Yao Tianzhong had brought them to the southern region. Could it be because of this wooden fish? Perhaps she could use Yao Tianzhong as bait to lure this wooden fish over. When the time came, she would anger these plant demons to death. Especially that old scholar tree spirit. Chapter 4585. She was a psychopath. While Hei Shinjio was pondering, the national master ordered his men to bring Hei Shinjio and the other two to the wooden fish and set up the evil warding formation. Qing saw Yun Chujio staring at the big wooden fish with shining eyes and cursed in his heart, this money grubber. At this time she wouldn't covet the wooden fish, would she? Soon the evil warding formation was activated. As the evil warding formation was activated, countless black gales attacked Hei Shinjio and the other two from all directions. At the same time the huge wooden fish began to emit a strong pressure. Qiying had been fed with poison beforehand and lost all his demonic energy. He revealed a look of despair. He really couldn't survive this time. Hei Shinjio took out 2 detoxifying pills from her storage ring while resisting the black gust of wind. These were the pills that she had snatched from the 2 jailers yesterday. Qiying then realized something. Yesterday Yun Chujio was not poisoned. Today she was not poisoned either. How did she do it? He did not have time to think about this. He took the detoxifying pills that Hei Shinjio handed him and swallowed them. Buttface also swallowed one. Qiying and Buttface's demonic power began to recover, helping Hei Shinjio resist the black evil wind. Emperor Wen Yuan and the others were shocked when they saw that Hei Shinjio and the other two had recovered their demonic power. Could it be that the pig demon was really an ominous thing as the Imperial Preceptor had said? Otherwise how could they not be poisoned? Emperor Wen Yuan looked at the Imperial Preceptor with some apprehension. Imperial Preceptor, they have recovered their demonic power. They won't break out of the array, right? The Imperial Preceptor sneered. Your Majesty, don't worry. Let's not talk about this evil warding formation. Just the pressure of the wooden fish alone can suppress the 3 of them to death. In less than 15 minutes they will die without a doubt. Emperor Wen Yuan nodded. It was true. The pressure of the wooden fish could not be endured by ordinary people. Moreover, the pressure of the evil warding formation would be even more intense. These 3 ominous creatures were doomed. However, Emperor Wen Yuan soon realized that it did not seem to be the case. The monkey demon's movements were getting slower and slower, but the pig demon and the dog demon did not seem to be affected by the pressure at all. They were extremely agile. Moreover, the pig demon seemed to be mumbling something. It was just that the formation was isolating the sound so he could not hear what the pig demon was saying. The National Master was also shocked. He frowned and said, Your Majesty, even if they are not afraid of the pressure of the wooden fish, they cannot break the evil warding formation. Emperor Wen Yuan nodded and continued to look at the array. At this moment, Qiying's head was covered in sweat, and his chest felt uncomfortable. He felt bad when he saw Hei Shinjio and Buttface moving freely. Yun Chujio was a pervert that could be ignored. After all, she was the reincarnation of the ghost ancestor. However, why was Buttface, a stupid dog, not afraid of pressure? He was even worse than a dog. Was there any room for reasoning? When he heard that Hei Shinjio was starting to mumble, he staggered and almost fainted. Little wooden fish, look at what's on my wrist. This is your old lover. He broke through all the difficulties and finally came to your side. Aren't you touched? Little wooden fish, Little Bell came with overwhelming sincerity. You won't keep him away for 1,000 miles, right? Qiying finally came to a conclusion. This stinky girl was a psychopath. What she did was something that normal people couldn't do. Chapter 4586. It was easy to invite a god, but difficult to send a god. Hei Shinjio kept mumbling for a long time, but there was no change to the wooden fish, and there was no change to the demon sky clock on her wrist. This guy frowned. Was she wrong? Wasn't the demon sky clock targeting this wooden fish? She sorted out the things related to the demon sky clock and suddenly had a thought. Fuck, could it be that the demon sky clock and wooden fish wanted to kill her first and then reunite? The fellow gritted his teeth and did not care if he was a pig demon now. He immediately bit his index finger and dripped it on the demon sky bell. Even in his dreams, the demon sky bell did not expect Yun Chujio to use this move. However, he felt that it was not an ordinary item. Even if it was dripped with blood, it would not be contracted. This wretched girl had made a wrong calculation. However, in the next moment, an arrogant voice came from the spiritual sense of the demon sky bell. You lousy bell. Hurry up and hook up with Muyu or I will feed you to the dogs. The demon sky bell immediately felt that the entire bell was in trouble. It was about to forcefully cut off the spiritual sense connection with Yun Chujio, but it was suddenly stunned. The body of the bell trembled violently and made a whimpering sound. Hei Shinjio. Damn it, this lousy bell despised her so much? Was it going crazy? Just as Hei Shinjio was complaining, the light on the wooden fish intensified, and the array disk of the evil warding formation shattered with a bang. The Imperial Preceptor, Emperor Wen Yuan, and the others were dumbstruck. What was going on? The evil warding formation could be said to be the strongest formation in the demon region. How could the 3 beast demons break the formation in such a short time? When everyone was shocked, they saw the pig demon approach the wooden fish and drip the blood on its index finger. The wooden fish flashed with light again. It had recognized its master? How was this possible? This was a treasure left behind by the demon ancestor. How could it recognize a pig demon as its master? Moreover, this pig demon was an ominous item. Hei Shinjio saw that the wooden fish had been contracted by her and immediately felt that the sky had turned blue and the clouds had turned white. Even the old locust tree spirit was pleasing to her eyes. The guy straightened his back and said arrogantly, "Locust tree spirit, let me ask you. You said that I was an ominous object? Then why did the treasure left behind by the demon ancestor acknowledge me? I am clearly the messenger of the demon ancestor. I had summoned the heavenly thunder in the northern region before. How dare you, a locust tree spirit who does not know anything, slander me? What?" It was the first time that the national master was called a locust tree spirit. He was so angry that his beard was raised. Shaking his hands, he said, the weather last night was clearly a sign of great danger. You must have used some unorthodox method to contract the wooden fish. TSK, unorthodox method? According to what you said, could the demon ancestor's treasure not even withstand the unorthodox method? Your Majesty, when you on, this locust tree spirit is clearly slandering me. You have to give me an explanation today, or I will order the wooden fish to start a massacre. Hei Shinjio crossed her shoulders and said smugly. Emperor Wen Yuan's forehead was full of cold sweat. He was so regretful that his intestines were turning green. It was all thanks to the state preceptor's blind advice. If he had known earlier, he would have used these 3 beast demons to negotiate with Emperor Jing Shun. Now he was being too passive. This pig demon had the wooden fish in her hands. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to kill her. Hei Shinjio crossed her arms and said while shaking her feet, "Haven't you heard that it's easier to invite a god than to send a god? We've suffered such a great grievance and you're just going to send us away? Do you think that we can come and go as we please?" You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.